Got an overturned vehicle in Robertson County, still blocking the right shoulder at 24 eastbound before Maxey Road there. And in Rutherford County right now, looks like police have, either that or Highway Patrol or police, have a semi pulled over. And that is on the right shoulder, 24 westbound near Waldron Road. That's slowing things down in Laverne. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to Brian Wilson, and this is The Drive on Super Talk. We're counting down to our last shows. The last show will be on Christmas Eve, and then, the Drive will be parked. We'll engage the emergency brake, and we might put one of those nice canvas covers on the car. I don't know. But the Drive will come to a close in just a few days. But never mind that. Between now and then, we're going to continue to drive you home and drive the liberals just a little bit crazy. And we thank you for being here. Again, I will be here every, weekday all the way to the 24th. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday and Tuesday. And then I'll still be around, but I won't be around as much. So anyway, we're all good with that. I want to start today with talking about the situation on the border, which, we don't talk about the border a lot lately because there have been other fish to fry and other things that we need to talk about, elections and transitions and the battles that go on with all that. And you know a whole lot of stuff has been happening, and we've been focusing on it. But I really do believe that, in the next few days, we're going to find out more and more stories. When Trump comes into office and we can tell, he'll be able to tell us what was going on behind the scenes and what was happening. I think we're going to learn a lot more about the dissolution of our southern border. There really effectively is no southern border. That's going to get rectified real quick, starting on January 20th. But over the last 4 years, it essentially has been a porous border. People can come in, and they're just sort of like they're just directing traffic. Come on through here. Yeah, America, it's that way. Have a good time. And a lot of people, millions and millions of people have dissolved into the fabric of America. And each of them, many of them have come here illegally. And most of them have come here illegally, against the law, but that doesn't matter to the Biden administration. Now, not all the people who have done this, I mean, they broke the law when they came in, but I don't think that some of these people are not necessarily of criminal mind. They were looking for a better life, and it's hard to blame them for wanting to come to America, but, there's a way you do that, and there's a way you don't do that. But I don't think that they're bad people. But there is an element of people who come through. What happens at the border generally is early in the morning, the cartels will push through across the river and up to the gate. The people who want to come in contact with the Border Patrol and U.S. officials. And they then, as that process unfolds, the Border Patrol, of course, overwhelmed. Now they've got all this paperwork they have to push through. They've got to figure out what to do with all these people. And when they're busy up the river somewhere where there aren't any Border Patrol, because all the Border Patrol are busy, then that's where the dangerous and the bad people come across. And some of those people are really bad, and we don't know how bad they are. I think the way the cartels work, you pay more if you want to go across the river and not have an encounter with law enforcement. They make you pay more for that. So why would you want to avoid the police? Well, because there's something in your background. Or maybe you're here for nefarious purposes. sent here by foreign countries. I think a lot of that is going to be uncovered in time. We're going to look back at this as a huge disaster. To me, it's clear it's been a disaster, but I don't think we understand the depth and the breadth of this issue just now. But I think with the passage of time, we're going to see it. And the bad people who have come here are causing problems. I turn my attention once again to Aurora, Colorado. From FoxNews.com. 14 detained in armed Aurora, Colorado home invasion, and those involved are likely illegal gang members, according to police. This is the same video you've seen on Fox News and other places of gangs that are terrorizing the residents of a place called The Edge at Lowry Apartments in Aurora, Colorado. And so there was an attack against somebody who worked there by these gang members. Now, is it Tren de Aragua? It may be. They're not saying that, but they're saying that they are likely illegal gang members. These are gang members who have come to this country from other places. They are here illegally, and they are violating the law, and they are involved in a gang, and they are bad hombres. They truly are. And they're terrorizing the people. Well, they have arrested and detained for questioning 14 different individuals. Just before 2:30 a.m. on Tuesday, police were called to The Edge at Lowry Apartments in the 1200 block of Dallas Street for a reported armed home invasion in which victims were kidnapped and assaulted, according to the Aurora police. Aurora Police Department Chief Todd Chamberlain said during a Tuesday news conference that 13 to 15 people, mostly males, some females, entered an apartment where 2 people were inside. Police say the suspects took the migrant victims to another apartment at the same location where the victims were threatened and bound. One of the victims, a man, sustained a stab wound but is expected to survive. Both victims are still in the hospital for treatment of their injuries. Bunch of thugs. They were pistol whipped, they were beat, they were mistreated. So does that fall into the category of torture for me? Yeah, it does, said the police chief. This is without question a gang incident. I don't know which gang they are affiliated with yet. There is high assumption they may be affiliated with Tren de Aragua gang, but he stopped short of declaring which gang in particular was involved because he could not be certain at this time, but they will be certain in time. Listen, I want you to listen very closely to the anger of the police chief of Aurora, Colorado, Todd Chamberlain.
I had a discussion with an individual from the White House, and that occurred back on September the 23rd, I believe. And that person basically told me that, hey, once these immigrants get across the border, that's all we really care about. And to me, that's a problem. And so, Aurora, we are now in the process, as many other cities throughout this nation, of trying to pick up the pieces of an incredibly bad system that was in place.
Yeah, for 4 years it was in place. And for 4 years, the good, the bad, and the ugly were allowed to come across the border. And the Biden administration, I believe their activities really border on the criminal. Maybe not even border. They are criminal in some ways, I think. Aurora Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky has been on top of this issue.
Tired of this situation being downplayed. I am tired of this being portrayed as just another gang in Aurora. This is actual human suffering of the most vulnerable community, the ones who would otherwise be afraid to call 911.
Yeah, and it's wrong. And you know, I can't wait for the Trump people to get in and start cleaning this thing up. I mean, I'm telling you, Homan is gonna be. I can't wait to watch him. He's just champing at the bit for January 20th. He's ready to go. He's loaded for bear, and he's going to do everything he can to get the very bad people out of here. And that's going to be the top priority, and then they'll work on everything else after that. It's going to take a couple of years to undo. Well, you won't be able to completely undo it because it's going to be hard to track a lot of these people down, but it's going to take years for them to undo the damage that has been done by the Biden administration and their crass ignorance of the law and unwillingness to enforce the law. Turn your head, pay no attention to what's happening on the border for crass political reasons. That story was, still makes me pretty mad. People being beat up by gangs that come here. But this next story, ladies and gentlemen, is unadulterated. This one's going to make you mad. We had all of this wall material, metal bars, all kinds of steel that's been down on the border. And when Joe Biden came in, they stopped building the wall, and this stuff just sat dormant. Millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff that could be used to build a secure wall just was going to rust out in there in the desert. And now comes word that in the last days, while we're waiting for Trump to come in and Biden to get the hell out of our way, the Biden administration is selling that stuff pennies on the dollar. Now, we're going to have to buy it again and pay full price for the steel that is needed when it's already there, but the Biden administration is trying to sell it for pennies on the dollar out of spite. Out of spite. Here's the president-elect.
We spent a tremendous amount of money on building the wall, and now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall, and we can't let this take place. Now we're going to go. I spoke with the Attorney General of Texas. I spoke to the senators of Texas. I spoke to a lot of people, and hopefully they'll be able to stop. We're going to be, having a restraining order. But just think about how ridiculous it is. And this is just people that don't want this country to succeed. And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do with common sense. We won on common sense, and this is maybe one of the most egregious examples I've seen. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall.
Stop selling the materials that are going to be needed to build this wall. And they're doing it out of nothing but spite. Sheer, unadulterated spite. The American people should be outraged. You know what? I mean, a lot of people, who voted Democrat, you can't possibly believe that this is a good idea. You can't possibly believe that the American taxpayer should take a wash on this. Americans voted to build the wall. That was part of what happened in this election. They wanted the border secure, and they wanted Donald Trump to do what he was doing when he was president last time, and that's build this wall. And out of spite, the Biden people are selling this stuff up on pennies on the dollar. Chris Clem is a retired FBI agent who lives in that area now.
They're putting up hurdles and blocking the administration, the incoming administration, and their enforcement efforts. I live right here in this area, southern Arizona, and I see that wall. It looks perfect. It's in good condition. It's the desert. A lot of things don't rust out here. We can use it. The agents could use it. And this is, like you said, this is just spite out of an outgoing, limping administration that is just trying to get to the finish line and putting up roadblocks again. This is American material that has been bought and paid for by the taxpayers. Let's put a penny saved is a penny earned. Right. Let's put that wall to use. It can be used, and we could do something very rapidly. Just trying to, cause problems for the incoming administration. It's ridiculous. It's about border security.
It's outrageous. It is, and it needs to stop now. This administration, I can't wait for January 20th. I can't wait to get rid of these jerks. And this kind of stuff, trust me, this is but the initial opening salvo in what Democrats are going to do as soon as Donald Trump is sworn in. Oh, they're gonna do everything they can to obstruct any progress that is made towards securing the border. And Americans should be absolutely outraged at what the Democrats are doing. It's not the American way. 20 minutes now past the hour. I got to tell you, over the weekend, I saw a lot of old friends, hadn't seen in a while, had a lot of people over to the home for the holidays, and everybody who hasn't seen me in a while said the same thing. Man, you look great. How much weight have you lost? And quite frankly, I'm ashamed to tell you, it's knocking on the door of 40 pounds I've lost. And I needed to lose it, and I feel so much better. And the reason that I've been able to do this is because of the people over at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa in Lebanon. They have worked with me to get on a weight loss program that has been incredibly effective. And we're constantly adjusting and making little changes as we go along. And the last little change has resulted in a quick 10-pound loss. And I'm telling you, it's the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. It's not hard. And they can do the same thing for you. I also want to mention that the folks over at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa are the leaders in advanced therapy treatments for arthrosis and chronic pain. Chronic pain affects 20% of all adults in the U.S. Chronic pain increases with age, affecting nearly 50% of all adults over the age of 65. So do not let chronic pain control your life. They can help you with it. What you need to do is go to their website, Restoration Wellness Med Spa, learn about all the things they can do for you, or give them a call, set up an appointment, 615-470-8124. You're going to meet my friends Carly and Jamie, lovely people who take great care of you. Say goodbye to your chronic pain and get a new lease on life.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
George Floyd appeal. Details coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That is the one, the only bearded wonder in the newsroom, Ken Weaver. Good afternoon to you, Ken. Good to see
Good
you.
afternoon to you, Brother Brian.
And there is Chris Weber in the control room pushing all the blinky buttons, as he always does so ably. Good afternoon, Chris.
Hello.
I think I would be remiss as someone who has been on this station now for 6 years if I did not stop for a moment and pay tribute to Johnny B. If you have not heard the news today, Johnny B is no longer going to be with the radio station after today, and that announcement was made this morning on Dan Mandis's show. And I just want to say that I've never known a nicer guy.
Yep.
I've never known a more professional broadcaster. I think the world of Johnny B, and I'm very saddened that he won't be a part of this radio station going forward. But these are decisions that were made, and tough decisions that were made. And I'm just very saddened by the whole thing. He's been nothing, he's been at this station for a long time with Phil Valentine, obviously, and those two were welded at the hip,
Oh, absolutely.
They really were, and they were. I feel in some ways, Ken, and especially you, Ken and Chris, we have a sort of what I thought is good chemistry. Ken, you know where I'm headed. Chris, you know where I'm headed, and we sort of read each other, and that is a rare and beautiful thing. Well, listen, the people who wrote the book on chemistry were Phil Valentine and Johnny B.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And so I have nothing but great wishes. I have not had a chance to reach out and have a conversation with Johnny B., but I can guarantee you that will happen in the next day or so after he has a chance to catch his breath, and wish him only the best going forward in the days ahead. So I just wanted to get that off my chest really early in the program. And now it is true that I'm going to be leaving, and I just want to say, as I said in my conversation during the Matt chat earlier, in the little transition conversation we have with Matt Murphy every day, that my situation is that I chose to leave, and people. I don't want any people to, because there are people out there saying, "Well, what's going on?" And look, I don't know. I'm just an employee at a station, and I come in every day and I try to do a good job for the people who hire me, and all of that. But I want you to know that about 3 years ago, when I was negotiating a new contract, I told them I wanted to work up through this election cycle, and then I wanted to retire. And I said, I have a passion for completing what we're into right now, and through the election, and then after the election, as we start to do the transition, somewhere in there, I want to retire. And so it is 1,000% my call. I don't want anybody to have any wrong ideas about that.
And I can vouch for that, because I was aware of what was going on. And
and I, we have no secrets. You and I, we talk all the time. And even though you're in another building from where I am, people don't understand. Our connection is just as good as if I were in the studio.
We probably talk more than if you were in the next room, honestly.
Yeah, you're probably right. And so we talk all the time, and there's not a sliver between me and Chris Weber, and there's not a sliver between me and Ken Weaver, and I just feel like I've been very blessed to work with two of the best in the business all this time. But I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I am retiring because I'm freaking old.
That's one way to put it.
Well, there are people who are older, but I put in my time, and I've had a tremendous career. This weekend, it was brought back to me because the little Christmas party that we had this weekend turned into sort of also a retirement party. I didn't know that was going to happen. I had no idea, because my wife is keeping things from me. but it was so warm, and to hear from people who came up, person after person after person, to express to me things that that we really are going to miss you. We trust you. We have, we felt like, during the dark days of the Biden administration, you got us through all that, and that was my goal. That was that. So it was very. It was good to hear that, to know how much you speak words here and they go out over the radio, and you don't really know sometimes if you're having any impact at all. And if I thought that perhaps that those words just evaporated into thin air, into the ether airwaves, I was disabused of that notion, because people continue to be so gracious in saying lovely things to me about listening to this program. And so
the way the mainstream media was portraying things during these past 3 years, whenever you made that decision, Brian, someone with your experience in Washington, D.C. was needed to break through it all.
Well,
I'm telling you, I sit here every day, and I break through it, too. My job is 3 times harder than it should be.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I know we have to fight a system where information is in many ways slanted, and we have to unslant it. And that is what I feel like I try to do each and every day here. But we'll talk more as we get closer to the end. But I just want to tell you how much it means to me to hear these things. And once again, give my best wishes to Johnny B as he departs the station. That's a little late because I got a little carried away and a little emotional. But that's okay. What are they going to do? Fire me? 31 past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Well, a judge has granted permission for testing of tissue samples from George Floyd, as an ex-police officer convicted in his death seeks a new trial. Here's Chuck Severson.
Derek Chauvin was convicted in state court on murder charges in 2021 and pleaded guilty later that year in federal court to violating Floyd's civil rights. His federal defender in his appeal argued that Chauvin's original attorney failed to inform his client that an outside pathologist contacted the first attorney offering the heart and tumor theory before Chauvin entered his plea. Chauvin claims that amounted to ineffective assistance counsel and is seeking a new trial on that basis.
Right now in New York City, accused United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione is being charged with murder as an act of terrorism. He was already charged with murder, but the terror allegation is new, just announced today. Investigators' working theory is that Mangione, an Ivy League computer science grad from a prominent Maryland family, was propelled by anger at the U.S. healthcare system. Online postings attributed to the shooter in yesterday's deadly school attack in Madison, Wisconsin, point to a troubled teenager with violent views. But Chief Sean Barnes telling a press conference today,
at this time, we cannot verify the document. We ask that you not share the document or spread any information that may be false. Our department will provide an update on this document when we can.
15-year-old Natalie Samantha Rupnow is thought to have taken a handgun into Abundant Life Christian School, shot and killed a teacher and a classmate before fatally shooting herself. And here in Nashville, Metro Police say a 16-year-old McGavock High School student is charged in juvenile court with carrying a weapon onto school property after Metro Police say a staff member saw him exiting his vehicle with what looked like a rifle. It was a rifle-style pellet gun, which the 11th grader says he had on a hunting trip and was moving it from his back seat to his trunk. Police say they also found a machete and a hunting knife in his car. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Well, we got crashes piling up on where else? I-24. Right now, eastbound in Robertson County. Still working that one from earlier today. That's an overturned vehicle blocking the right shoulder at Maxey Road. Now in Rutherford County, we got 24 westbound at near Waldron Road. This is down as police activity. Looking on the cameras, I can see where it looks like a highway patrol or police have pulled over a semi there on the shoulder. And then in Rutherford County, we've got a crash on the off-ramp. This is partially blocking 840 eastbound to go to I-24. That's at exit 53. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. My good friends over there want you to know that, in most cases, if your back is hurting, it's pressure on your nerves. That's what it is. And, there is no pill or spinal cream that can solve that problem. You really, in most cases, have a couple of choices. One is surgery. The other is non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Their state-of-the-art facilities offer high-tech equipment and the latest non-surgical procedures. And because getting better is so important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they are offering half-off spinal decompression treatments and half-off the KT knee machine. That's sort of like spinal decompression for the knee. If your knee is hurting, you should look into this. Now, if you're a new patient, you get an exam, a consultation, and your first treatment. All of that only $23. Then going forward, remember, the non-surgical spinal decompression is half off. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com. What is that thing? That thing in the sky? It's a drone, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes another drone. They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Sounds like those scooters there.
It sounds just like those electric scooters downtown. Let's see if we can do a drone pass.
Went all the way across. Yeah.
Provided to you in complete stereo.
Oh.
No, look, I don't know what to think about this drone thing. First of all, there's something going on. I think there are things happening that we haven't figured out yet. I don't know what it is exactly. But there seems to be something happening. These swarms of drones are a different kind of thing. And there are people who, tell credible stories about weird drones that are appearing over their house and are coming in from offshore. And there have been some what seem to be very credible reports of something going on. I think in addition to that, I think sometimes people look into the sky because now they're curious what's in the sky and they see things that they think are drones and they're not drones. I think that is true. That doesn't mean that there aren't drones. It just means that some of the things that people are saying are not drones. And I think this. I think people who have drones, and there are 1 million drones in America. Yeah, that's the statistic I heard today. There are 1 million people who have drones. I'm one of them. I pulled my drone out, by the way, dusted it off. Flew it around the living room this weekend. I did. I flew it around the living room because I didn't want to get it outside and have it shot down by the good people of Watertown.
Bet Grogu loved it.
Yeah. Well, we had to put her away for a little while. She will attack that thing. But there are 1 million people who have drones, and so I think a lot of people when they start talking about all this drone activity, I think they decided to pull out their drones and chase the other drones, see if they can find out what they were. I think some of that is going on. But at the heart of it all, I don't think we've heard all of the answers about what's going on. There are some stories out there that, to me, sound like we need to do a little bit more investigation. Like, I've told you about this back December a year ago, and I've been telling you about it for the last few days. In December of last year, there were swarms of drone that shut down Langley Air Force Base, which meant we couldn't fly F-22 jet fighters. Our most sophisticated jet fighter was grounded for 17 days because they were afraid that it would collide with a drone. Now, they said, well, we don't know that these drones are doing anything nefarious, but if they're flying over a military installation, there's a problem there. I think there's a real problem there. So there are things going on here that they don't have explanations for, and they haven't figured out who they are. But and I'll tell you, our incoming president believes that the government knows exactly what is going on.
If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster. Want to know the truth? They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been?
Do you have any reason to think they're?
Yeah, he didn't want to comment on it. And by the way, incoming presidents do get security briefings. You know, that's part, so that you come into office and you're up to speed on things. So yeah, you do get security briefings when you're the incoming president-elect. So he's getting top secret information, and he said, I don't want to talk about that, which is wise. He shouldn't talk about it. But he says our military knows where they are. It knows where they're going, where they came from. They could follow them right back. It's no issue at all. They got a good clue onto what's happening there. However, John Kirby, who speaks on national security issues for the Biden administration, says, there's really not much to see here.
The military commanders at installations have the authorities they need to defend themselves, their people, their interests, and certainly to protect our secrets and our national security. Sometimes the answer is to find a way to down a drone, and sometimes the answer is not. And a lot of it depends on the capability that the base commander has available to him or to her, but they have the authorities that they need. The sense that you have to shoot everything down just when you see it, even if you do believe that there's a malicious intent, doesn't comport with actual reality. So, I mean, it really depends on the situation at hand. But rest assured, commanders have the authorities that they need, Guard. I mean, we've been looking at this very, very hard, and our assessment to date, based on the information that we've seen, the people we've talked to, the tips we've corroborated, this is lawful, legal aviation activity, manned and unmanned, drones, civil aviation. We've seen nothing that leads us to a different conclusion. I will say, however, that there's still about 100 leads that the FBI is following up on. We had 5,000 sightings, right? So maybe 12 people see the same aircraft. That's 12 different sightings that we have to work through. It doesn't mean 12 different aircraft. So that's happening. People are just looking up more now. It's more of a story. It's more of a thing. And people are paying attention. But remember, the reason they can see these things is because they've got their navigation lights on. They're actually flying in a legal, lawful way according to FAA rules. They don't have the lights turned off. They're not trying to obscure themselves. And in some cases, after we've done the triangulation, it turns out to be commercial air traffic. For instance, there was a story a couple of days ago about a Coast Guard cutter seeing like 30 or 40 drones following it. We did the forensics on that. It turns out it was air traffic going into JFK International Airport and not drones at all.
I wonder how the commander of that Coast Guard vessel feels about that assessment. Because, you know, I have a lot of faith in people out there in the military and the Coast Guard out there patrolling. When they tell me that they were followed by a drone, I believe that they were followed by a drone. Alejandro Mayorkas, worthless director of Homeland Security, Secretary of Homeland Security, said this weekend that, well, you know, we're aware of what's going on, but we have very limited authority.
Well, we are aware of the drone sightings. As I've said, I think there are more than 8,000 drones flown every day in the United States. With respect to the ability to incapacitate those drones, we are limited in our authorities.
So what's going on here? I mean, there's all kinds of theories. This story, seriously, it was covered by the New York Post. Missing radioactive material in New Jersey sparks drone theories. They're looking for something, a mayor says. A New Jersey mayor warned Tuesday that the troubling drone sightings over the state may be linked to missing radioactive material, although federal officials say the amount poses no serious threat either way. Well, if there was missing radioactive material, that's exactly what they would say. Oh, there's nothing to worry about here, but we've got some missing radioactive material. Belleville Mayor Michael Melman said the drones flying in a grid-like pattern over his Essex County township appear to be looking for something. What might they be looking for? Maybe that's radioactive material. It's a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged, and it was empty. Now, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission issued an alert earlier this week regarding a piece of medical equipment used for cancer scans that was lost in transit on December 2nd while being shipped from the Naja Cancer Center in Newfield in Gloucester, I can't say that, county in southern New Jersey. The device was to be properly discarded, but its shipping container arrived at the destination damaged and empty. But they say it's such a tiny amount, that's what they say, of radioactive chemical, germanium-68, that it really is not a big, it's less than what they call less than a Category 3 on the International Atomic Energy Agency scale, which means very unlikely to cause permanent injury to individuals or contain a very small amount of radioactive material that will not cause any permanent injury. But let me just say this. I don't know if this story is right on the money or not. This is what a mayor says, covered by the New York Post, a reliable news organization. But if there's a small amount of radioactive material that's missing, and I was a national security expert for the federal government, I would be going, man, we got to find that before the inauguration. We have got to find it. And, you know, when Trump says, have you been briefed on this stuff? And he says, I don't want to comment on it. I mean, it makes my little reporter antennae go up and says, sounds like there's something there. And then you hear this guy saying, well, we got some missing radioactive material. But then there's this. Listen to this. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, one of our most top military bases in the country, temporarily closed its airspace late Friday night and early Saturday due to the presence of small unmanned aircraft systems near the U.S. Air Force Base, which is located in Dayton, Ohio. According to the Dayton Daily News, Robert Perdaman, a Wright-Patterson Air Force Base spokesman, confirmed on Sunday that small unmanned aircraft systems were observed near the base on Friday night. The base's airfield was closed for roughly 4 hours. So far, our leadership has determined that none of the incursions impacted any of our residents, facilities, or assets. We're taking all of the appropriate measures to safeguard the installation and all of our residents. Asked how often the base had to close its airfield due to the presence of unmanned aircraft systems, Perdaman said it's the first time aware of. Langley, New Jersey, Wright-Patterson. Talk about things happening all over the country like this. Something's going on. And I personally, I don't know what it is. I'm not particularly a conspiracy theorist. I don't like to jump on that kind of stuff. But I get the sense that, quite frankly, I think there's something they're not telling us. We'll stay on it. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. You know, listen, if you haven't gotten that Christmas gift for that special someone, I can take care of it with one phone call. I mean, if you got someone special on your list, don't give them a gift that they have to return, or maybe it doesn't fit. Maybe it's the wrong color. Give them an adventure. Give them an introductory flight experience from Tennessee Flight Training. I did this, and it was a blast. You get to meet and fly with a certified flight instructor. My flight was out of B&A. We circled the skyscrapers of downtown Nashville, looked down on Nissan Stadium, traveled along the beautiful Cumberland River. You can also book your flight out of Murray County Regional or Shelbyville Municipal Airport. It can be for fun, but I want you to think about this as well. It could be your first step toward getting your pilot's license. Did you know that the aviation industry is facing a pilot shortage? Help yourself or a loved one jumpstart a new career in this in-demand, high-paying profession. Right now, save $50 when you purchase an introductory flight experience before December 24th. For more details, just give them a call. This is a one-call solution for you just as we get closer and closer to Christmas. 1-800-669-0250. Or learn more at Tennessee Flight Training. That's tnflighttraining.com. tnflighttraining.com. The skies are calling.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Major merger talks in the automobile industry impacting Tennesseans. We'll tell you about it at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let's talk a little business news. First, let's talk about the real estate market in Nashville. Unbelievably, you think that the marketing of houses is very slow right now because interest rates are high. Listen to this. Home prices are up nearly 6% year over year. If you have a home, your home continues to grow in value. And even in this sort of down market for housing, with high interest rates, home sales rose by 7% over last year, 7% year over year. Now, that it is not like it was during the great days when interest rates were really, really low, but it's not as bad as you might imagine. The most sought-after homes in Nashville are in the $350,000 to $450,000 range. There is more competition at this price point, and with strong demand, there is less resistance to price cuts. Nashville continues to attract people due to job availability and corporate relocations, according to a story by WSMV. I got a thing that says there are the top 10 real estate markets in the country. Nashville is not on it, but guess who is? Knoxville. Knoxville comes in at number 7, I think it is. Ahead of San Antonio, Phoenix. Number one, apparently the number one place for real estate sales in the country. I don't understand it. Boston. Charlotte, Grand Rapids up in Michigan. Greenville in South Carolina. Hartford, East Hartford in Connecticut. Indianapolis, Kansas City, Knoxville, Phoenix, San Antonio / New Braunfels, which is a hot area in the state of Texas. We're looking for a big report tomorrow from the Fed. The big question is, will they continue to cut rates in 2025? Big decision tomorrow. And so there's a lot of people who are watching very closely to see what the Fed may do, looking at everything that's going on within the economy to make sure that that if it has an impact on that decision by the Fed. Taking a look at the markets, the Dow is in a bit of a funk. It has had a 9-day losing streak, the longest since 1978. Dow down 267, S&P down 23, NASDAQ down 64. All screens are red. Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management to find out more about what's driving the market today. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yep, the markets definitely took a little bit of a breather today. You mentioned the Dow. That's the longest losing streak, 46 years. That's something to pay attention to. The day started out with some positive report. Actually, retail sales came in. It was actually significantly stronger than was expected, up 0.7 or about just under $725 billion for the month spent in retail sales. Expectation of 0.5. That's causing some nervousness in the market and definitely going to give the Fed something to think about, because you mentioned the Fed and their decision tomorrow. They started their meeting, kicked that off today. It's still widely expected that they're going to cut a quarter of a point, but that strong retail sales number may give them a little bit of pause. The market's a little bit nervous about that today. We'll find out tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, John. And to learn more about what John Maxon and the good people over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 4 o'clock, time for the news.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Rain and storms move in overnight. We'll tell you about it during the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Got breaking news out of Detroit. Japan's Honda and Nissan reportedly going to talk about merging. The Nikkei newspaper reported today Honda and Nissan soon will sign a memorandum of understanding. They will still be smaller than Toyota if they were to merge in this capacity, but their merger could help compete better against what they say is rapidly expanding Chinese automakers as well as U.S. all-electric vehicle leader Tesla. The suspect accused of gunning down United Healthcare's chief executive now faces a terrorism charge on top of all the murder charges. In a news conference today, New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch condemned that shooting.
There is no heroism in what Mangione did. This was a senseless act of violence. It was a cold and calculated crime that stole a life and put New Yorkers at risk.
Prosecutors say Luigi Mangione was the masked gunman who fatally shot Brian Thompson at close range in the heart of Midtown Manhattan earlier this month. Mangione expected to waive extradition from Pennsylvania, where he also faces charges. That's going to be during a hearing on Thursday. A judge has granted permission for testing of heart tissue and fluid samples from George Floyd. The defense for the ex-Minneapolis cop convicted in his death contends not the officer's knee on his neck killed Floyd, but a heart condition aggravated by a rare tumor. Here's Chuck Sievertson.
Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis cop, is challenging his conviction on a federal civil rights charge stemming from Floyd's death in 2020. The federal judge is allowing the defense to examine Floyd's heart tissue and fluid samples to test a theory from an outside pathologist that Floyd died of a heart condition aggravated by a rare tumor, not, as prosecutors contend, from the white officer pressing his knee on the black man's neck for 9.5 minutes, despite Floyd's cries of, "I can't breathe."
Right now in Tennessee, changes could be coming for students in Rutherford County. Channel 4's Jordan James says the school board votes tonight on zoning plans district leaders feel are necessary.
Discussions have been ongoing for over a year. Last fall, new zones were approved for high schools. Since then, there have been some changes to the proposal. The latest version of that plan would add a dual zone running between Siegel and Blackman high schools. Rising juniors and seniors would be able to remain at their current schools as long as they have transportation. Officials have said this new zone is needed to keep up with population growth. Now, this board meeting is set to take place at 5:30, and the community is encouraged to come out. If approved, this plan could take effect as soon as next school year.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a crash right now, Glen Cliff. This is 24 eastbound at Briley Parkway, exit 54. Cedar Hills, still dealing with that overturned vehicle there in Robertson County. The right shoulder block, 24 eastbound before Maxey Road. Right now in Rutherford County, Laverne. Police activity. Looks like a vehicle pulled over on the right shoulder, 24 westbound near Waldron Road. And then the East Bank here downtown, James Robertson Parkway, just west of I-24. Police working a crash there. Back to Rutherford County. where police reporting a crash 840 eastbound at I-24. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, good afternoon. 7 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock, hour number 2 on this 17th day of December. We just got a few days left in shopping. Have you got all your Christmas gifts done? I got to get busy on that.
Yes, you better.
Well, I've been busy. You know, there's a lot of work in this retirement stuff, I got to tell you. I never knew there were so many things to do when you're getting ready to retire.
If you think you're busy now, you just wait, buddy.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how I know I'm going to be busy is because, I can see my wife over there rubbing her palms together. Cabana wife going, oh, I can't wait to give him my daily to-do list.
He's going to have nothing else to do.
That's right.
No excuses.
And she's expecting dinner on the table when she comes home. That's what's going to happen. So anyway, but I mean, no, honestly, there really is. And I've been really, 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 really busy. But so I got to get out there and do a little shopping so that I, don't miss. Cabana wife would be a little irritated, I think, if I forgot. Honey, I just didn't have time to go buy that won't go.
I don't think that'll fly.
That don't fly.
Nope.
And she's been so nice to me doing these parties and everything and doing really sweet stuff, to sort of, make this career moment sort of special.
Mm-hmm.
And, so now I think she's going 2-3 carats easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Minimum.
Yeah. All I can say is costume jewelry. We'll see what happens. No. We'll see how that works out. Donald Trump, and this whole transition thing is something to watch. We think the election's over. You know what? The election is just the first step. You have to stay engaged, and you got to know what's going on with the transition because Donald Trump has got to get in here and do something. And the Democrats are going to stand in their way. They're going to drag their feet. The transition is to me just as important as the inauguration. We think about, the big inauguration. No, it's the transition. It's building a government so that you can walk in on day one and things don't fall apart. In fact, things can start to change rapidly in the right direction on day one. So a lot of stuff going on. Trump threatens to fire federal employees who are working from home. JustTheNews.com, President-elect Donald Trump blasted federal work-from-home policies Monday, calling them ridiculous. Well, those people who work from home, what a bunch of slackers they are.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, those people, they're just gaming the thing. Said that he's stirring up pushback from the federal employees union. If people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed, Trump told reporters during a news conference at Mar-a-Lago. What do you want to bet? That on the first week of the Trump administration, there's going to be record attendance in the office. I think that's probably true. The issue has been the thrust to the forefront in part by the incoming Trump administration's emphasis on government efficiency, spearheaded by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. But the issue has also gained national attention because Biden administration officials like outgoing Social Security Administrator Martin O'Malley negotiated a deal with union leaders to entrench the policies keeping telework in place for his 42,000 employees until 2029. Did you hear me? They're working now to lock down policies that won't be eligible to change until 2029. There's going to be a fight over that one. Everett Kelly, national president of the American Federation of Government Workers, the largest federal employees union, threatened legal action against the incoming Trump administration if the president-elect tries to upend previously bargained union deals that let federal employees work from home. Collective bargaining agreements entered into by the federal government are binding and enforceable under the law. We trust the incoming administration will abide by their obligation to honor lawful union contracts. If they fail to do so, we will be prepared to enforce our rights. According to the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, there are nearly 3 million. I want to say that again. 3 million federal employees. Kelly argued that the extent of which federal employees work from home has been exaggerated. I don't think that's true, because if you talk to the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, she's all up in arms about the fact that federal workers don't come downtown anymore. They don't come to the federal buildings, and the businesses in D.C. are suffering, and her tax base is suffering because people aren't coming to town, buying lunch, doing their shopping on their lunch hour, and spending money downtown. So Trump is gonna do what he can to fix that situation. The president-elect doing things that the current president, quite frankly, is not capable of doing anymore, like standing in the well and answering every question for hours. He can answer questions until the cows come home. And he says it's really interesting that this transition and this process, everybody's a lot friendlier than they were the first time he was the president-elect.
One of the big differences between the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something. But the first time, everybody was fighting me on all fronts. And that's a great thing, though. Getting along is a great thing. So
he's going to try to get along with people, he says, but there's going to be boundaries, and there's going to be certain things that are just not movable. Wants to get along, but he is the president of the United States. He is in charge of the executive branch. It'll be very interesting to see if they get into a big legal wrangle with the government employees union, government. By the way, at this press conference, he takes no prisoners when somebody asks him a stupid question. And, he's there might have been a time where he would have lashed out a lot harder. He just looks at these people when they ask these stupid questions, and he seems to say, I can't believe you're even asking me that question.
Against Iran's nuclear facility.
Well, I can't tell you that.
He's asking about is there going to be a preemptive strike against Iran? Well, what a stupid question that is. Why would you say yes or no to that? And that's exactly what Trump says.
Well, I can't tell you that. It's a wonderful question, but am I going to do preemptive strikes? Why would I say that? Can you imagine? If I said yes or no, you'd say, that was strange that he answered that way. Am I going to do preemptive strikes on Iran? Is that a serious question? How could I answer a question like that?
He seems to have gone to charm school, Trump, because, that was pretty easy. He can let that guy off on a hook. I once remember I covered a police chief back in Amarillo years ago, sort of a rough old cob. I liked him quite a bit, but he was, of the old school, not necessarily, all touchy-feely and didn't do things like we do them through the HR department these days. And I said, I talking to him one day, and he said, well, Brian, they sent me to charm school. And I said, what is charm school? He said, well, I go to this class, and they teach me to say incredible instead of. So somebody is told, it's a very nice question, but why in the world would I ever answer a question like that? I don't know. The nomination of Pete Hegseth is going along pretty well. Listen to this from Newsmax. 120 retired generals and admirals have signed letters of support for Pete Hegseth. More than 120 retired U.S. generals and admirals have signed an open letter supporting Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, the Daily Wire reported on Tuesday. As Trump readies his America First agenda in January, Some of his cabinet picks have come under intense scrutiny from senators within his own party. Trump's pick to lead the Defense Department has been met with criticism from Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins of Maine and some others. The signatories, collectively calling themselves Flag Officers for America, cite Hegseth's education, his vast military experience, his willingness to call out the pernicious effects of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in the military as reasons for their support. Quote, he understands combat from the grassroots level and will take that much-needed perspective with him as the next SecDef. He has studied and experienced the disastrous effects of diversity, equity, and inclusion has had on our military, and he is committed to expunging it from our armed forces. His focus is solely on warfighting readiness so that our military is prepared to fulfill its mission to fight and win our nation's war, the letter read. He was scheduled to be back on the Hill today, meeting with senators to show up continued support for his nomination. He has his effort to get confirmation has been textbook. I mean, I've never seen one turn around the way this one has turned around. Usually, when they start going south, they don't come back. And, there were people who made all kinds of allegations and all kinds of suggestions about this, that, and the other. And he absolutely turned it around. The Federalist has a great, I don't know if I can get into all 9 pages of it, but a great piece saying, the Hegseth nomination battle shows Republicans an easy way to stop losing and start defeating the swamp. And they look at Hegseth's nomination and the battle over it as sort of a textbook way of dealing with the left when they start doing things. And so there you go. I think he's looking really, really good for that. And I think, I don't know if there's going to, I think there are going to be some hard hearings after the president is inaugurated on January 20th. There'll be some very tough hearings about the president's nominees. Democrats are not going to stand by and not throw rocks. And people are going to come out of the woodworks. And they're going to try to derail a couple. But I think the American people are over that stuff. I think they are. I think they say, look, you could, how many times have, well, I guess the main reason I think people are over it is how many times have the Democrats cried wolf, and then there turns out to be nothing to their allegations. Time and time again. Adam Schiff would make some kind of allegation. Turned out to be totally baseless. And I think Americans have figured out, it is like the boy who cried wolf. If you keep saying wolf, and then at the end of the day, you have to come back and admit, well, we were wrong, or they never do admit they're wrong, but we find out they were wrong. So many things that the Democrats have said, and casting aspersions upon Republicans have turned out to be wrong, 1,000% wrong. And what I don't understand is when I was a news reporter, if I had a source that told me I have this on great authority, you need to trust me, go forward with this information, you got a scoop here, and I would look at the information and I would always say, well, I wonder what is their angle on this? Why are they telling me this? But if I went with a story and then later there was elements of the story that turned out that person told me were just simply not true, well, number one thing would happen, I would never go back to that person as a source. They were unreliable. We talk about reliable sources. We don't get rid of sources when they're unreliable anymore. We should. The word would go out. You can't trust that guy because he'll lie to you. Well, nowadays, they lie to you and they lie to you and lie to you, and the reporters keep going back to the same damn sources. And I think a lot of people have looked at the situation with the Democrats and how many times they have said this, that, or the other about Trump, and then when we get the facts of the matter, and it may take years, it may take months, it may take a long time, we find out that the things they said were just palpably, absolutely 1,000% horse manure. And I think people are smarter than that. So, the Democrats are going to pull their old tricks during the confirmation hearings. But I have some confidence now that the American people are on to them. At least I certainly hope so. Seems like that's the way it's going so far. 21 minutes now past the hour. You've heard me talk a lot about the folks at URFARB for a while. It's the place you go if your European car needs repair. It's been the place to go for some 24 years. Family-owned business, and they have grown over the years. I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, the folks at URFARB now have 5, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different places where you can go to have your European car repaired. The latest one is Mount Juliet on Mount Juliet Road, right across from the Dairy Queen. URFARB can also serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and of course now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small town mechanic who started in the barn in the backyard of a single wide trailer grow to such success. 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. At URFARB, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So call this number, 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myurofix.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Merger talks impacting Tennessee auto workers. This story and more coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 26 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Of course, we saw the tragic events of Madison, Wisconsin yesterday as there was another school shooting. I couldn't help but notice the parallels to the shooting at Covenant School. Number one, you have a Christian school. Number two, an incredibly rare thing. Most people don't, it hasn't been talked about, but a very rare thing for women to carry out these kinds of attacks. And I remember distinctly on the day of the Covenant shooting when we were in the middle of covering it, and we were just, as we always do, assuming that, that the suspect was a male. We made an assumption because it always is. And I remember getting a text from a source who said, you're not going to believe this, but it's a woman. And I looked it up, and attacks of this nature by women are exceedingly rare. And if there is a mass shooting, it's usually something like this. Woman out on the town, goes to a club, somebody insults her, she leaves in a huff, comes back with a gun and shoots somebody, shoots several people. I mean, that kind of thing does happen. But it's rare for this to, for us to have a school shooting like this and it be a woman, just like it was very rare in Covenant. It is very rare to see this in Wisconsin. So there is a similarity. I don't know a lot about it. There are a lot of things that are just heart-wrenching, like, second graders who had to call in 911. Second graders who explained to a local TV station in Madison what happened.
I was getting ready for lunch, so it was basically lunchtime. And then I just heard sobbing, and there was a teacher, and she was screaming like, my leg, help, help.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that just get you? I mean, how sad that is that kids were going through that. Chief Sean Barnes was asked about, was this premeditated, asking a lot of questions about that. And there is a manifesto out there. Today, the reporting, Ken Weaver, back me up on this. The reporting today is from the chief there. He says, look, we know there's a manifesto. I've read it, this thing that's floating around. And they said, don't bite into that because we're not sure it's legitimate.
Right.
Yeah.
But he asked media to stop circulating it. If any media is actually circulating this document that he was talking about. He said they have not been able to validate it. They're still looking at it. And he says they will release what they know soon. But he says right now it's just too soon in the investigation.
Isn't it interesting that they are being so transparent, and yet the investigation into our shooting was anything but transparent?
This police chief is holding at least 3 news conferences a day.
Yeah.
He held 3. Oh, I think he held 4 yesterday.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of the police chief. His name's Sean Barnes. I like him a lot.
We have asked our partners with the ATF to expedite what's called an ATF trace form to try to determine the origin of that weapon, who purchased it, and how it got from a manufacturer all the way into the hands of a 15-year-old girl. These are questions that's going to take some time to answer, and we're fully committed to getting the answer to that. I do not believe that 15-year-olds should have access to weapons that they can bring to school and potentially hurt someone. We really have to do a better job, not only in our communities, but in our country, with making sure that our young folks do not have access to weapons and firearms, and certainly making sure that we're paying attention to the mental health of our children. There's a lot of work that we need to do so that we cannot be having these conversations again and again and again on CNN and other news outlets.
Was the weapon owned or possessed by the parents?
I'm not certain at this time.
You, as of last night, you were still questioning the parents. At this time, any reason to expect that they could be charged with any sort of crime here?
Well, we will certainly look at all facts and aspects of this case. As they were voluntarily giving information that certainly helps to determine, if they were involved.
There you go, a little bit from the chief as they continue to try to sort that whole thing out. 30 minutes now past the hour. Time for the news with Ken Weaver.
4:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and I see the National Weather Service has put all of Middle Tennessee along and north of I-40, that includes Nashville, under a flash flood watch with rain and storms on the way overnight. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Big news impacting Tennessee auto workers. Nissan and Honda have begun negotiating a merger so they can compete better against electric vehicle manufacturers. Nissan, headquartered in the U.S. in Franklin, expects to build 100,000 fewer vehicles next year than last year at its plants in Mississippi and Tennessee. This according to the Tennessean. The Tennessean says much of Nissan's EV manufacturing here in the U.S. happens in Tennessee at its Smyrna and Deckard plants. Officials in Wisconsin say they're still trying to determine a motive in the deadly shooting yesterday at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison. Today, Police Chief Sean Barnes asking reporters not to share a document he says has been swirling online.
At this time, we cannot verify the document. We ask that you not share the document or spread any information that may be false.
Yeah, police are focusing on social media accounts which paint a portrait of a young person gravitating towards potential neo-Nazi violence. Right now in Nashville, Metro Police say they're trying to put more school resource officers in elementary schools. For now, they only have 3. And Channel 4 says Metro Council votes tonight on funding that could help fill more school resource officer roles. House Speaker Mike Johnson urging fellow Republicans to get behind the short-term spending measure to avoid a government shutdown Friday night. Tennessee U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty asked about it on WTN's Matt Murphy show today.
Well, that's one aspect that I think our listeners should be pleased with, and that's the fact that this continues only until March, but it does continue until March. That gives the Trump administration the chance to come in and figure out and negotiate the balance of the year as opposed to leaving it to Chuck Schumer and the Biden administration.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. The Gulch, a crash, Broadway and 12th Avenue. Cedar Hill, Robertson County, still had that overturned vehicle blocking the right shoulder, 24 eastbound at exit 19. Back here in Nashville, the East Bank got a crash just west of I-24 on James Robertson Parkway. In Rutherford County, a crash in the Blackman area, 840 eastbound at I-24. Then in Smyrna, a stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder, 24 westbound, right after Sam Ridley Parkway. Here in Nashville, Murfreesboro Pike eastbound at Donaldson Pike got a crash. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let me tell you about my friends over at King & Associates Insurance in Brentwood. They've been in business some 25 years as an independent agency. Now, let me tell you, that's exactly what you want when it comes to insurance needs. Because an independent agency is not just going to sell you the one product they have. They're going to shop around a bunch of different companies, weed out the good ones, the bad ones, and keep the good ones. And so at the end of the day, they're going to bring you an offer that really meets your needs better than maybe that company that just, here's what we have, take it or leave it. That's not their way. That's not the way they do it. And if you call this number, 615-329-8121, I'm going to tell you, 615-329-8121. You don't reach a call center. You get an actual human being. A shocking, I know. How many times does that happen when you're dealing with an insurance company? That person will take care of you. And then you're going to find out about multi-policy discounts where you can save big money, 20, 25, 30, 35%. Huge savings are possible. So what you need to do is get your royal review today with King & Associates Insurance. Log on to tkinginsurance.com. That's King Insurance & Associates. Royal treatment and great rates.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
There it is. I had to wake up.
Scared me for a minute.
The swamp music.
Didn't know what happened to it.
Yep. Got to go to the swamp.
Woo, you better look out.
There's all kinds of crazy stuff happening in the swamp. Somebody got to watch it. We're not done yet. The one thing that is perhaps more dangerous than anything else is when you have a lame duck government. I mean, that's one angry lame duck.
I think that one might have teeth.
But anyway, when you got a lame duck government, they're going to try to pull a bunch of nonsense on the way out the door. I mean, what you have in a lame duck government is a lot of people who are not going to be here for the next Congress. You got a president and administration not going to be here. The Democrats are losing control of the Senate. So, they're going to try to get everything they can as they go out the door. And so, there is ugly stuff that happens during a lame duck session. And that's happening even now. I mean, here we are. Once again, how in the world do we find ourselves in this position yet again? We need to have a continuing resolution or the government has to shut down on Friday. Now, look, do I think the government's going to shut down? No, they always seem to find a way. But Republicans in the House are fit to be tied over how many of them are just, about as angry as they possibly could be. They'd be angry as this duck over here. They're angry little ducks. Like I was watching Buddy the Elf. They're angry little elves. They are. So, what's going on? Well, they don't want to do this CR that's packed with a bunch of pork, a bunch of waste, fraud, and abuse. They don't want to do it. Listen to this story. I'm going to take you now to the House of Representatives. Imagine you're standing outside the door. All the House Republicans are in a meeting, and the Speaker has gone in there to tell them, what they need to do so they can get home in time for Christmas. I mean, this may mean that they're going to push this vote right up until Christmas Eve midnight. I mean, it could be that kind of thing. Several House Republicans stormed out of Tuesday's morning conference meeting furious over Speaker Mike Johnson's handling of the government funding bill, which still isn't ready and puts the federal government on the brink of a shutdown at the end of the week. This from ABC News. Republicans had initially promised to release bill text over the weekend with the aim of holding a vote early in this week, but outspoken criticism from within their ranks has continually delayed negotiations from finalizing the legislation. Johnson denied that the evolving package amounts to a so-called Christmas tree omnibus, where you put a bunch of decorations. Everybody gets to put a big, bright, shiny ornament of red and green and gold on the Christmas tree. He said it's not that. He confirmed that the measure is not clean, and it will include a disaster relief package reported to be more than $100 billion, as well as $10 billion for the agricultural community. Missouri Republican Representative Eric Burleson called the Speaker's funding plan presented at the conference meeting, quote, a total dumpster fire. I think it's garbage, Burleson said, adding that he has conveyed his frustration to Johnson, who is seeking to retain the Speaker's gavel in the new year. I'm disappointed, Burleson said when he asked about Johnson's future. I think that he can do better. He can communicate better. The fact that we haven't seen the language today and we're supposed to vote on it this week is unacceptable. South Carolina Republican Representative Ralph Norman said he is frustrated with the funding plan as well. I'm not voting for the CR, the continuing resolution. Texas GOP Representative Chip Roy, a frequent critic of the leadership's spending bill, said this is not the right way to do business. We just fundamentally are unserious about spending. And as long as you got a blank check, you can't shrink the government. And if you can't shrink the government, you can't live free, said Chip Roy. Georgia Republican Representative Rich McCormick said he left the meeting saying, I'm frustrated with the whole approach to this because I think once again we're just adding to the deficit without having any clear plan forward. And after relying on Democrats for bipartisan support to pass the fast 5 continuing resolutions, Johnson brushed off the criticism bubbling up within his ranks, stressing that the bill had not been released. I got a couple of friends who will just say that about the end of any year funding measure. This is not an omnibus, okay? It's a small CR that we've had to add things that were out of our control. These are not man-made disasters. These are things the federal government has an appropriate role to do. Despite the growing tensions, Johnson expressed optimism that his speakership will overcome the challenges to buy the conference time until Republicans have unified control over Washington next year. That is the hope. I mean, this only goes to about March. If it goes to March, then we'll have a Republican president, a Republican Senate, and a Republican House. So, again, it may be a dumpster fire. I don't know. They probably will get passed with Democrat support. I'm not happy about it, but I would predict, not that I want this. Understand, I'm just making a prediction of what I think will happen. So I think it will pass with Democrat support and the support of a fair number of Republicans, but not all. Once again, out of control spending. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's record slim majority could face greater division following a GOP lawmaker's announcement that she would not be caucusing with House Republicans for the foreseeable future. Representative Victoria Spartz, Republican of Indiana, who won re-election in November after initially deciding not to seek a third term, announced her exit from the House Republican caucus in a post on X Monday, citing her discontent with House Republican leadership. I will stay as a registered Republican, but I will not sit on committees nor participate in a caucus until I see that Republican leadership in Congress is governing. I do not need to be involved in circuses. I would rather spend more of my time helping Doge and Representative Thomas Massey save our republic as was mandated by the American people. She's going to help out Elon and Vivek. She has also not decided whether to back Johnson's bid for Speaker. So she won't be considered, she'll be, I guess, a Republican in name only, but will not be caucusing with the Republicans and is letting everybody know I'm not on board with some of the foolishness that's going on. She released a statement today confirming her pledge to forego Republican caucus participation and committee assignments. The Indiana Republican did not ask to be reappointed to her seat on the influential House Judiciary Committee, tasked with conducting oversight of the Department of Justice and FBI, a Sparks spokesperson told the Daily Caller. AOC pushed aside as the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. They voted not to give her that role. Instead, it went to Representative Jerry Connolly, I think, of Virginia. Yes, Connolly of Virginia. Democrats voted 131 to 84 for Connolly of Virginia, a solid win of nearly 61. Now, he won't be the chairman, of course. He'll be the ranking member. But AOC wanted to be the ranking member of the Oversight Committee. That's a big platform, very showy platform. I know Jerry Connolly, not really a very showy guy, but they decided not to have a circus there. And, I think that Connolly is somebody that Republicans, to some degree, will be able to work with. Dale Ellery, the House Democrat Caucus Steering and Policy Committee, recommended Mr. Connolly for the post over Ocasio-Cortez. The steering panel preferred Mr. Connolly, 74, an 8-term congressman, and a 34 to 27 vote. Liz Cheney, oh my gosh, there is talk that she might be prosecuted. Senator Mike Lee is calling into question former Representative Liz Cheney's knowledge of FBI informants among January 6 protesters. During the January 6 committee hearings, Cheney lashed out at anybody asking whether the FBI had inside sources in the scope of their involvement. However, a new report by the Justice Department Inspector General disclosed the agency had 26 informants that day among the protesters. Interestingly, they say, I'm adding that part, they say the agency had directed only 3 FBI human assets to attend. The others did so on their own. Some went, I think there were about 13 that went into the building, none charged with any crimes. But what I do know is it's very strange that she would call people who were raising these questions nut jobs, nutcases, whatever that is that she wanted to say, when she herself, a member of the January 6th Investigative Committee, had access to a lot of information. And here, House Republicans are now accusing Liz Cheney, of January 6th witness tampering, and now seeking an FBI investigation. The subcommittee's findings, first detailed in October, claimed the former vice chairwoman of the January 6th Select Committee improperly communicated with Cassidy Hutchison, a then ex-aide to then Chief of Staff Mark Meadows under the Trump administration. The report recommended the FBI investigate whether Cheney violated federal laws against secret communications with Hutchison and whether she engaged in procuring another person to commit perjury. This, according to the Washington Examiner. Evidence uncovered by the subcommittee revealed that former Congresswoman Liz Cheney tampered with at least one witness, Cassidy Hutchison, by secretly communicating with Hutchison without Hutchison's attorney's knowledge, says the 127-page report. The report specifically points to 18 U.S.C. 1512, a federal statute that prohibits tampering with witnesses and carries penalties of up to 20 years in prison. It asserts that Cheney's actions fall outside the due functioning of the legislative process and therefore are not protected under the Constitution's speech and debate clause. The report further accuses Cheney of procuring false testimony, a violation of federal law. Based on the evidence obtained by this subcommittee, numerous federal laws were broken, likely broken by Liz Cheney, and these violations should be investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Not the one we have now, but there'll be one coming along, and I hope they do. 50 minutes now past the hour. Merry Christmas from the entire family at Busy Bee. Brandon and William wish you the very best during this holiday season. They have deals for you this holiday season. Maybe what you need to do is give yourself a gift of a brand new heating and cooling system in your house. Busy Bee has a limited number of 1 1/2 to 3 ton split heat pumps for residential unit replacements, only $6,995. I mean, these things don't last forever. You may need to replace it. Why not do it now while you can get this good deal? This system offers a great balance of energy efficiency and year-round comfort for residential homes. Or how about a $69 mainline camera inspection from the outside cleanout, or a free package upgrade for air duct cleaning? You buy one level and they will upgrade you to the next one automatically. How about a $500 gift card after installation of a whole home main water or drain pipe replacement, or a whole home water or drain repipe? For your satisfaction guaranteed, why don't you call the good people at Busy Bee HVAC, your Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833, or learn more by going to their website, busybeehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Major merger talks impacting Tennessee auto workers, and the man accused in the United Healthcare CEO murder now charged with terrorism. These stories and more at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That is Ken Weaver in the newsroom. He's bringing you all the news here in just a few minutes. And Chris Weber in the control room pushing the blinky buttons. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, for a few more days. The drive will come to a halt. We will reach our final destination on the 24th of December. I will then engage the parking brake. I might even put it up on blocks.
Parking in the ghetto, are you?
Well, you know, and that's not. I don't think that's allowed in Watertown. You know, but it will come to a close, and we're going to be. I'm going to be in the chair. You know, unlike these past few weeks where I haven't been working Mondays and Fridays, I will be working between now and my last show. So I'll be here today, tomorrow. Well, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, next Monday and Tuesday, and then that's it.
That's it.
The drive will no longer be in gear. But until then, we're going to poke right along here. We're going to be in the fast lane.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be in that far left lane going 80 miles an hour and watching our ways for police officers.
So we're not on 24 is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. I had some
Stay
by the
away
way,
from 24.
I had some friends who were in town and they said, "Man, people around here drive fast." I said, "Yeah, I know, man. What is the official speed limit?"
Catch me if you can.
I think I mean, technically, I think it's 70 miles an hour is what
70,
they have posted.
yeah. 70.
But in some areas, most areas, until you get closer to town.
Yeah.
But nobody drives 70.
No.
Nobody drives, except pokey old women in the far right lane.
Here's what's scary is one of these days, Middle Tennessee is going to be just like Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yep.
We're not there yet, but we're already driving like Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it is an intense experience. And so I was zipping along, and they're just like, "Man, the traffic." I said, "I know, man. Tell me about it." But I can tell you this: as bad as the traffic is, and I know it's really bad for a lot of you out there right now, this is nothing compared to what I had to put up with in D.C.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, a 30-mile trip would take me an hour and a half at minimum. And if one person was having a bad day at a couple of choke points along the way, it might be 2 hours. It might be 3.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's getting close here.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
Bad.
It's getting close.
Very quickly, while I have a minute here, and I just have a minute left, George Stephanopoulos and ABC News, as you may have heard, have had to pay a $15 million settlement fee to Donald Trump because they defamed him. They now say they regret the comments that were made. But it's interesting that on This Week with host George Stephanopoulos, no mention whatsoever was made of the fact that they had to pony up $15 million with an M dollars.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, there's some things maybe they used to say public officials are hard to defame because they're public officials, but he did it pretty clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And now they had to pony up $15 million to set things straight. It's 5 o'clock, time for the news.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And all of Middle Tennessee, north of I-40, now under a flash flood watch for rain and storms moving in overnight. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Got some news impacting Tennessee auto workers. Merger negotiations underway between Nissan and Honda as a means for these two companies to better compete in the EV market. The Tennessean says much of Nissan's American EV manufacturing happens in Tennessee at its Smyrna and Deckard plants. Right now in New York City, prosecutors announcing the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO has been charged with murder as an act of terrorism.
This was a frightening, well-planned targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation.
Yeah, they're still working to bring Luigi Mangione to a New York court from a Pennsylvania jail where he faces charges there. We understand that he could waive extradition on Thursday. Right now in Madison, Wisconsin, Jacqueline Lee says the big questions are how and where did a 15-year-old student get a gun? And then why did she kill a fellow student and a teacher before herself, and what motivated her?
They're going through her social media, trying to figure out her ideology. They say it had neo-Nazi leanings. She was celebrating mass shootings, and that she, posted a photo indicating, a celebration of white supremacy. So again, it's very early in the investigation, but they're just trying to use every puzzle piece at their disposal to try to get a better picture of all of this.
Now, Police Chief Sean Barnes today asked the media to not share a document he says is swirling online that purports to show the shooter had a fascination with Nazi violence. Right now in Nashville, a 16-year-old McGavock High School student charged with juvenile court with carrying a weapon onto school property today. Metro Police say a staff member saw him getting out of his vehicle with what looked like to be a rifle. Well, it was a rifle-style pellet gun recovered from the 11th grader. A machete and a hunting knife also in the vehicle. The student said he had been on a hunting trip and was just moving his pellet gun from his back seat to his trunk. Alleged serial killer Rex Heuermann being charged with a 7th murder today in Suffolk County, New York on Long Island.
Heuermann was named as the sex worker's suspected killer in June. Now,
we have mitochondrial DNA from a hair that was found on the body of Valerie Mack.
Suffolk County, New York DA Raymond Tierney.
I remind everyone that all of these cases and all of these murders are just allegations, and we look forward to proving them in court.
Prosecutors are investigating Heuermann in the deaths of as many as 5 other people, including a male whose remains were found at or near Gilgo Beach.
That is Chuck Severson reporting. And the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, I-24 eastbound right before Maxey Road at exit 19. Still dealing with an overturned vehicle there. That happened this morning, but the right shoulder is still blocked. Got a crash on the East Bank. This is going to be 24 eastbound right before Shelby Avenue, exit 49. And then in Rural Hill, we've got an accident blocking the shoulder, 24 westbound right after Bell Road. Looking over here in Bellevue, a crash reported by police, 40 westbound right after exit 196. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon, good evening. It's 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, and it's been dark for 35, 40 minutes.
Yep.
I read somewhere that we, these are like the longest nights, shortest days. I mean, I think officially for about 2 weeks now, the sun officially sets at about 4:32. And it gets, a few seconds longer each and every day. Up until the 21st, I think it is. December 21st is the first full day of winter. And then slowly, almost at first imperceptibly.
Yeah, very slowly.
It starts to get long. The days start to get longer and longer.
Yeah, we need more drones with lights.
Yeah. I tell you what, the drone situation, isn't that something? I mean, I don't know what to think about it. I really honestly do not know what to think about it because, it seems to me there's something going on there. But what it is isn't exactly clear. And I think that part of it is, now everybody in the world is looking up and now everything they see is a drone. Yes. And some of them are, and some of them aren't.
Right.
And then on top of that, everybody who had a drone says, I got to get my drone out and play with that for a while. I haven't flown my drone in a long time. There's 1 million drones in America. And I was talking to my friends who were visiting this weekend, and we were talking about the drones, and I was talking about how sophisticated my little toy drone is. Mine's about not much bigger than the palm of my hand. And it's an amazingly, incredibly complex and sophisticated piece of equipment. It will fly, I'm trying to remember these statistics right off the top of my head, it will fly like 5 kilometers from where I'm at.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 kilometers. You're not really supposed to fly them beyond your line of sight. But, but people do.
Yeah.
And so you can fly and along that entire 5 miles, the little controller that I have in my hand, I have a perfect picture coming back from what that drone is seeing. And I was explaining to them, how it was that you can't the drone that I have, you can't run it out of battery because it's constantly doing a calculation. How much battery do I have? And how much battery will it take me to get back to the landing zone? And when it reaches critical mass and all that, you lose control of the drone. It flies back and it lands right where it took off. I mean, that's right on the spot where it took off. Yeah. And it's really an incredibly sophisticated thing. I did make a mistake last week when I was talking about drones because, like I say, I haven't flown my drone in quite a while, and I had not been keeping up with the latest regulations. I said it was illegal to fly a drone at night, and that is true unless they are equipped with anti-collision lights. And that apparently the FAA changed that rule and said if you put anti-collision lights on it, you can fly it within certain parameters at night. So that changed. I wasn't even aware that it had changed. So, I was talking to my friends and, they said, well, you want to fly it? I said, no, I'm not going to fly it over Watertown. Somebody in this town will shoot it down. We ain't having no damn drones in our town. We got to boom, I'd be picking up little pieces of drone. But I flew it around the house. I did it when Cabana Wife was not there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if it went badly, then I didn't want to have to explain.
Yeah, you could just blame it on Grogu.
Yeah, Grogu broke that. I don't know how that happened. By the way, can I just share one little story? As I mentioned, we had some people over to the house Saturday, sort of our Christmas, and it turned into a bigger thing, but that I wasn't aware was going to happen. And, we had a bunch of people in the house, and I mean, honestly, it was hard to get around the house. There were so many people in the house at one point. And I have a TV that I've mounted against a mantle of the fireplace in my family room. You've seen it, right? Mm-hmm. Big TV up on where the fireplace is, right? Yeah. And I built a little thing that was supposed to keep it in place, and I tried to, I didn't want it to be sitting on legs. If you had legs, it wouldn't sit on the mantle. I wanted it to sit on the mantle.
Right.
And so I built a little thing that was supposed to keep it intact and leaned it against the wall. And then I put Velcro industrial grade Velcro on the back of the thing so it would be stuck
to
the wall. Well, I don't know. Apparently, when people were over, somebody bumped it, and nothing, and nothing happened at the party. But Sunday, we're all sitting around watching a football game. I got family in, I got friends in, and we're all sitting around watching a football game. And there was a horrendous crash. I mean, a horrendous. 50-inch TV fell flat onto the pavement, onto the floor with it was the loudest noise I've heard in a long time. And that we went over and said, what happened? I guess somebody had bumped it and it was not as stable as it had once been. Although Cabana wife will argue it's never been stable. But next time
I told you, Brian.
I know we're going to do it my way next time. But anyway, not that she was bitter about it or anything, but just a little. Anyway, so I said, well, the screen's not broken. I mean,
really?
the power came out. I mean, it unplugged, so it was dark. But I said, I don't think the screen's broken. Is it possible this thing survived? And so we put it back up on the shelf and plugged it in. And it looked like an art painting of like, a surrealistic art painting. It was completely gobbledygook. Nothing. It was all just, shattered, broken up images. It was a disaster. I can't even describe what it looked like. It's sort of, in a way, it was sort of pretty, but not if you want to watch the football game.
Yeah, sort of abstract looking. Huh?
It was very abstract. That's the word I'm looking for. It was very abstract looking, just a bunch of squiggles and lines, and none of it went together, and you couldn't tell what was on the screen at all. So, right now I bought a new replacement. And this is amazing. I replaced a 50-inch TV. I went to the Best Buy, and the new TV is 65 inches, $300.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I know. Is that astonishing?
Yeah, so cheap.
That you can get a 4K TV that's really good for $300.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
So then I've decided, well, I got to find a bracket this time, of some kind of bracket to put it in this cabinet that it's in and attach it so it won't ever fall again. The bracket costs more than the TV.
Of course it did. They got to get their money somehow.
Yeah. So anyway, and I've been told that I'm not allowed to install the bracket.
Well,
we've got one collecting dust in our house because I'm afraid to.
Yeah, well, apparently we're going to call our good friend Logan the handyman. Come out and install the TV.
You've had your chance, and that didn't go so well.
No respect at all. I mean, for 3 years it worked. It worked until it didn't. Anyway. What was I going to talk about? I want to talk about the border situation, and I'm telling you right now, the border situation is it's unbelievable what we have going on there. Have you heard what happened in Aurora over the last 24 hours? We've seen these pictures. Maybe you've seen them on Fox News or someplace else, where the authorities in Aurora are trying to deal with this Tren de Aragua alleged gang that's working and controlling an apartment complex, terrorizing an entire apartment complex. Well, apparently, here's the story of what happened. Police in Aurora, Colorado say the overnight armed home invasion of a local apartment complex resulted in 14 suspects being detained, and it was without question a gang incident. Just before 2:30 on Tuesday morning, that's today, police were called to the Edge at Lowry Apartments in the 1200 block of Dallas Street for a reported armed home invasion in which the victims were kidnapped and assaulted, the Aurora police said. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain said at a Tuesday news conference that 13 to 15 people, mostly males with some females, entered an apartment where 2 people were inside. Police say the suspects took the migrant victims to another apartment at the same location where they were threatened and bound. One of the victims, a man, sustained a stab wound but is expected to survive. Both victims are still at the hospital for treatment of their injuries. At some point, authorities said the suspects released the victims, who then called 911. They were pistol whipped, they were beat, they were mistreated. Does that fall into the category of torture? For me, yeah, it does. This was without question a gang incident. And I don't know which gang they are affiliated with yet. It's suspected it's Trinidad, but they're not saying that for sure. There's a high assumption they may be affiliated with TDA, but he stopped short of declaring which gang in particular was involved because he could not be certain at this time and wanted to be accurate. But then you could tell the frustration was boiling over as he talked about the policies of the Biden administration. Hang on, here is the chief of Aurora, Colorado, talking about the situation with regard to the Biden administration and their policies.
I had a discussion with an individual from the White House, and that occurred back on September the 23rd, I believe. And that person basically told me that, hey, once these immigrants get across the border, that's all we really care about. And to me, that's a problem. And so, Aurora, we are now in the process, as many other cities throughout this nation, of trying to pick up the pieces of an incredibly bad system that was in place.
Yeah, it's an incredibly bad system. We've been talking about it, and it's what the election was all about. Aurora Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky has been very vocal on this.
Tired of this situation being downplayed. I am tired of this being portrayed as just another gang in Aurora. This is actual human suffering of the most vulnerable community, the ones who would otherwise be afraid to call 911.
So if that doesn't make you mad, and if that isn't just a bunch of unadulterated, this next story is going to hack you off. I mean, it's really going to hack you off. You ready? Remember that Donald Trump was building a wall. Joe Biden becomes president. He stops building the wall. All of the materials that were going to be used to build the wall were out in the desert for 4 years. Some of it was sold off. Other parts of it just sat there, unused. Just unused. I mean, everything you needed to erect the wall, the metal, the steel. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there to put these walls together. I mean, it's so big you have to have a helicopter fly around it. It's that big. A big supply of this stuff is out there. Now, the Biden administration is selling it off for pennies on the dollar so that Trump can't build his wall when he becomes president again.
We spent a tremendous amount of money on building the wall, and now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall, and we can't let this take place. Now we're going to go. I spoke with the Attorney General of Texas. I spoke to the senators of Texas. I spoke to a lot of people, and hopefully they'll be able to stop. We're going to be, having a restraining order. But just think about how ridiculous it is. And this is just people that don't want this country to succeed. And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do with common sense. We won on common sense, and this is maybe one of the most egregious examples I've seen. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall.
Selling the wall for pennies on the dollar. The materials needed to continue building the wall are there. You paid for them, and now the government is selling them off pennies on the dollar. So when Donald Trump comes in, he's got to buy the stuff again and rebuild the wall. That's insanity. That's nuts. And it's nothing more from the Biden administration than spiteful action. They can't get over the fact that they lost the election, and so they're going to try to. And this is what we're in for, folks. Get ready. This is the kind of stuff that's going to happen for the next 4 years. The deep state, the people that are buried in from the Biden administration, and all the Democrats are going to do everything they can not to do what's right for America, but to just stand in the way of any success that Donald Trump might have. Selling the stuff that you already paid for pennies on the dollar so that Donald Trump can't build his wall. It's outrageous. 21 past the hour. Let me tell you about the folks over at Beacon Capital Management. You know, this is the time of year where it makes a good sense to stop and take stock of where you are, find out how your investments are doing. See whether or not you've got them done and if you're on track for a retirement. If you're in that boat right now where you see it looming, you're not alone. But there are steps you can take to be better positioned regardless of what happens. You deserve the confidence to know that no matter what's going on with the economy, you have a plan that helps keep your financial goals in line with your life's priorities. If you're in or nearing retirement, Beacon Capital Management has a free retirement-ready toolkit just for you. You'll get a Money Enough for Life book, a retirement planning checklist, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper. Doesn't cost you a penny, there's no obligation, and there's absolutely no pressure. But it's good information, and it doesn't cost you a penny. All you have to do is call this number. Write it down. I'm going to give it to you twice. 615-488-9303 to get your free retirement-ready toolkit. The number again, 615-488-9303.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Merger news impacting Tennessee auto workers. Terrorism charges added to the mix in the CEO murder. Congress got a classified briefing on drones. And George Floyd appeal granted by a judge. We'll tell you about it at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I was talking about a little Tennessee news, a little stuff closer to home. House Majority Leader William Lamberth was talking today about the new school choice bill. He called it a win-win for everybody. Listen, I'm ready to see this episode. It's House Bill 1, Senate Bill 1. It was filed by Lambert and Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson, who I saw briefly this weekend, along with a lot of other people. The bill would make 20,000, let's make sure I get this exactly right, 20,000 education savings accounts worth $7,075. $7,075 available for students in the 25 to 26 school year. In addition to creating school choice vouchers, the bill would provide K through 12 public school teachers with a $2,000 bonus in the 25-26 school year and dedicate 80% of all sports wagering dollars to build and maintain public school facilities. Now that's a good deal. You know, when you say when you hear people say, well, they're trying to do away with public schools, they're not. They're simply saying that, you know, if you like your public school, you can continue to go to your public school. It doesn't matter one whit. If you're satisfied with the education your kid's getting in a public school, rock on, baby. But there are schools that are not getting the job done. Tennessee education levels are abysmal. The testing shows that we're way behind in a lot of areas. And for many people, it doesn't make sense to keep going back to a school that's just not getting the job done. So, you know, there are going to be 20,000 of these scholarships available. $7,000 is about what we pay and we spend on each student on an average year. So you could take your $7,000 and add to that and send a kid to private school. It probably won't cover the entire tuition, but it will cover some of it. If they choose and their parents choose that a private school is best for them and that money would be allocated for scholarships for them, we're not taking money from public schools. I'm going to repeat that. We're not taking money from public schools to be able to fund private schools. These are scholarships that are funded through the regular general fund, and then they are finding a way to provide additional monies to support public schools. Teachers who are already on the job are going to get a bonus. Additional money from, sports gambling is going to go to support the educational process in the state of Tennessee. So if you like your public school, rock on. If you don't like your public school and you feel like it's really lacking, there are now maybe some options available to you that were not available before. The state legislature comes into session in January. And I hope this year this gets done. And you know what? There's going to be a lot of people, school board members, different county mayors and county executives who are going to say, you know what? We like the old fashioned. We like it the way it was. We don't want to change it. It's not the way we've ever done it. Status quo, status quo, status quo. The status quo is not educating a lot of kids in this state. It's time to try something different. It's insanity to keep taking kids and sending them to a school that are failing. Don't let, all this talk about, well, it's different. It's different. We never done it this way before. That's my cranky school board member invitation. We've never done it this way before. Stop it. Don't stand in the way of letting some kids get a better education. 30 minutes past the hour.
.5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we're under a flash flood watch, at least some of us. National Weather Service says everybody along and north of I-40 under a flash flood watch due to some rain, possible storms moving in overnight. Tell you about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Got some news impacting Tennessee auto workers. Nissan and Honda reportedly beginning merger negotiations. A company's struggling to get a bigger chunk of the EV market due to Tesla and others. Right now in New York City, accused United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione being charged with murder as an act of terrorism. Already charged with counts of murder, but this terror allegation is new, as we hear from NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch.
There is no heroism in what Mangione did. This was a senseless act of violence. It was a cold and calculated crime that stole a life and put New Yorkers at risk.
Members of Congress got a classified briefing from national security officials today on those mysterious drones. Some lawmakers say they learned nothing new. This is Pentagon spokesman Major General Patrick Ryder.
Sometimes when you focus on something, suddenly you notice more. And so, there's always the potential that because of the heightened awareness, now we're just more aware.
Tennessee U.S. Senator Bill Haggerty telling WTN's Matt Murphy Show it's another example of how the Biden-Harris administration's undercut Americans' confidence in the authorities here.
You think about their behavior when the Chinese spy balloon flew over America. It flew over sensitive U.S. military sites. It was bouncing around over places it should never have been, and the Biden administration was trying to tell us that it was just checking the weather. Come on. How many times did the Biden administration try to tell us that the border is secure? We know with our own eyes that this isn't true.
A judge has granted permission for testing of tissue samples from George Floyd as an ex-police officer convicted in his death seeks a new trial. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Two rivers got a crash and 3 left lanes blocked. Priley Parkway northbound right after Opry Mills. Then over on the East Bank downtown, we've got a crash 24 eastbound right before exit 49. The Eastern Split got a crash right shoulder block 24 eastbound at I-40. And then in Rural Hill, I-24 westbound right after Bell Road, the shoulder blocked there by a crash. Got a vehicle balancing on the guardrail there. 40 eastbound at Charlotte Parkway, exit 201 in Hillwood, a crash. 65 northbound off-ramp to Briley Parkway, Ellington Parkway in Madison. Then in Antioch, 24 eastbound at Harding Place. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Grace Point Healthcare provides affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medical care. They're known for this thing called a Smart Care Plan. The basic Smart Care Plan starts at $69 a month, and it includes free office visits and free basic labs and diagnostic tests. What a deal. At Grace Point, you are usually seen the same day or the next day. No long wait times in the waiting room. You're feeling run down? You're feeling low? Do you have intestinal issues, rashes, hives, sinus problems? You might have a food allergy. Get tested and learn what foods to avoid in your diet. Grace Point is a military, veteran-owned practice located in the heart of Franklin. Here's the number, 615-599-6868, to schedule your next medical appointment. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. La 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 la. It's time for festive music. Means it's time for the Three Amigos. Amigo number one is in the newsroom. The bearded wonder. You know him. You love him. You can't live without him. It's Ken Weaver, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, boys. Yes.
And there in the control room, pushing all the blinky buttons so ably as he does every day, the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Webber. Hello, Chris.
Season's greetings.
Season's greetings.
Yes, sir.
We're just going to say it. Merry Christmas. We
That's
say
right.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Governor.
Merry Christmas, y'all. Listen, so the idea here is, I don't know what kind of accent was that? The idea here is we come find these wacky stories, and then we share them. And sometimes we get through them all, sometimes we don't. Yeah, sometimes we get lost along the way, but that's okay. You never know what might be said during the Three Amigos.
It's true.
And by the way, can I just say, I need to pay tribute here.
Okay.
Because the Three Amigos, it was a thing that I came up with, and the music and everything, the festive music. It's basically because in my real life, it's away from radio, my private life, I have two guys who are like my best friends from my days back in Odessa, growing up. We actually, when we got out of high school together and we all started working, we all rented an apartment together.
Oh yeah.
Where we ate a lot of beans and weenies. I mean, we ate a lot of bologna sandwiches while we were trying to get started. But those two guys, we have called ourselves for years now the Three Amigos. And so I thought, well, I have those Three Amigos, but I'm going to have some other work amigos.
Yeah.
So that's where I came up with the term Three Amigos, also from the movie, of course, by the same name. So anyway, this weekend, my two friends, the personal amigos, were in town.
Nice.
And I didn't know either of them was coming.
Oh, that's very cool.
I mean, they came in for the Christmas party at our house, and what turned into a different kind of thing than I expected. A sort of congratulations on completing 50 years. By the way, you see what I have in the background?
Yeah, that's something.
You see it?
That's a big 5-0 right there.
A big 5-0. They had these.
No, the other direction.
I thought you were talking about a cop.
You're pointing in the other one.
right behind the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, it's got a big 5-0 in the back. It's a big lit-up sign that they had at the party.
That's neat.
To point out that I have survived 50 years in the world of broadcasting. But
yes, sir.
Anyway, they were in town, and it was great fun to see them. But that's where the term came from. At least in my mind, I replicated, something that was out of my personal life. And that's so the original Three Amigos, my original Three Amigos were here, and it was great to catch up with them. I got a good one.
Okay.
Can I start?
Let's hear it, Brother Brian.
Lunenburg County, Virginia, AP, Dateline, Virginia. A Virginia man has... I don't want to laugh because it's a sad story. A man has lost his life here.
Okay.
All right. A Virginia... I hope I can get through without laughing.
Wow.
A Virginia man has died after a bear in a tree shot by one of his hunting partners fell on him.
Oh, my.
I know. I mean, so the bear's just in a tree being a bear. Why do you need to shoot the bear in the tree? But the bear got shot, fell out, hit one of these guys, and killed him cold. Right out there in the country. Hunting group was following the bear when it ran up the tree. As the group retreated from the tree, the hunter shot the bear. The animal fell onto another hunter who was standing about 10 feet from the bottom of the tree. Dead is Lester C. Harvey, 58, of Phoenix, Virginia.
Oh, my.
A member of the group rendered first aid, but he was taken to two different hospitals and died of his injuries, according to the Wildlife Department.
Goodness gracious.
So can you imagine, the death? How did this man die? Killed by a falling bear.
That's not something you hear every day.
No, you don't hear that all day.
They couldn't just leave the bear alone.
I don't know why they had to kill the bear. Bear's just being a bear. Bear
Why was the guy so close to the tree where the bear was?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
That's terrible.
It's sad. It's an unbearable way to die.
Too soon, Brian. Too soon.
I almost couldn't bear to tell that story.
Oh, man. You're just going for it, man. All right. Fair enough.
I'm done.
Goodness.
That's all you got, huh?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, At least he didn't suffer, I suppose.
Yeah,
I guess.
well,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
The
see
bear or the
suffocated.
person? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, either one.
Maybe the bear was so heavy it suffocated him.
Yeah, I don't know. Bad deal.
Yeah, it is.
All right, well, changing things up a bit.
On a happier note.
I'll talk about passwords. You know, passwords are such a big part of everybody's life now because everything has got a password.
It's the bane of my existence because the computer no longer likes any of my passwords.
Yeah. Well, that's the worst is when it, and we have some of that going on here within our company where you can only use a password for so long and then they make you change it. But you can't use one that you used previously because it doesn't like that. You have to keep coming up with new ones. But
right.
Anyway, this is the company NordPass. They're a password manager, one of those companies that will store all your passwords for you. That way you don't have to remember them. They've compiled a list and released the 2024 edition of the dumbest possible passwords. And they've done this for the last 6 years, and they've analyzed sets of passwords that were stolen by malware or they're either exposed in data leaks. So they're not telling actual people's passwords. These were previous passwords of people, but they were either stolen or exposed. And so you're not going to believe, well, you probably will believe what some of the top passwords are.
I bet I can guess because I saw that somebody did a story about this one time. It's normally your pet, the name of your pet, your birth date, and an exclamation mark.
All right. Those are pretty dumb, but the top ones even top that. The top dumb password, and this was analyzed for over 44 countries that they surveyed in this, but the most common password was 123-456.
Oh, no.
Followed by 123-456-789. Followed by 123-456-78. Followed by password. And they just keep, they're just some really, most of them consist of numbers and letter combinations that are easily guessable. Like a big top one was QWERTY 123, QWERTY, just the home row of the keyboard.
Right.
QWERTY 123, QWERTY 1, or 1111111. Just silly things like that. But I thought this was interesting. There were some different strange ones in the U.S. top 20 that I found interesting. The number one password in this list from the U.S. was the word secret. Just SECRET, secret.
Wow.
The number 3 was password, which is, that's a good one. That's a real tough one. But some of the interesting ones were...
And those people who did that, I'm being so clever. Nobody will ever guess it.
Never. Password. But number 14 on the list was the word baseball. Number 17 was princess. Number 18, football.
Football.
And number 19, I want to talk to these people. The number 19 password, monkey. I don't think that I would ever think to use the word monkey as my password.
You're right. Our company requires us to change our password real regular. Yeah. And, and you're doing it for a while, and all of a sudden one day you're in a hurry, and all of a sudden you got to stop and come up with a new password. And so what I end up doing is I keep looking around the room for something that,
what can I do this time? Yeah.
Like television set, and then.
Yep.
Coffee mug, just whatever I can find. What's in the view, that's what I end up making my password.
But and I will say for this, and this NordPass is one variation of many different of these password managers. I actually started using one a couple years ago, and it really is a lifesaver because it can create just these jumble of letters and numbers.
And then remember them.
And it will save it for you. And then anytime you go to that app or that website, whether it's on your phone or your computer, it will populate. All you have to do is remember one master password and just make it a real good one that you're never going to forget. And then it will remember all the other ones. And then you never have to worry about using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for your password.
Wow.
So check it out if you don't have one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I like that. All right. What you got there, Ken?
All right. I remember one time whenever I was little and, obviously my younger brother and sister were little too. My dad played a really nasty joke on us.
Okay.
On the way home from church one evening, he said, kids, your mother and I have been talking about this Christmas, and we've decided we're going to go ahead and give all your gifts to charity. And there was just silence.
Yeah.
And then I think my little brother started crying.
I could see that.
But I'm not sure. I do remember that I was not of the charitable kind as a 10-year-old, and I was very angry.
Yeah.
And fortunately, my mother saw the crisis that was forming in the backseat of our car, and she ended that real soon. And then those tears of anger turned into tears of joy. But I say that in telling this story on the New York Post's Weird But True. There is a family living on a sailboat that plans to spend what they call their minimalist Christmas at sea, and they're going to give their kids fish and seashells as gifts.
What?
It's a UK family putting the tide in Yuletide, as this
I see what they did there.
writer says. It's a UK family, and apparently Stephanie Stevens, the mother, says, for presents, we keep things minimal, focusing on small, practical items or experiences. These simple rituals keep the holiday spirit strong on board the boat they live on. So they moved onto their boat they call the Pinnacle a year ago so they could sail the world.
That's pretty cool.
It actually is. However, fortunately for them, their children look to be very young. Looks like they have like a 3-year-old and maybe an infant. So I think maybe the fish and the seashells may pass this time around. But probably by the time they finish their year on this sailboat, they might want to think about toys or something like that. So, apparently they're going to, here's what's really good too. In the past, they've given out things like stickers, stationery, and notepads as gifts.
Wow, how exciting.
And chocolates. So this year it has a photo of the father holding what appears to be a tuna, and his toddler son standing there smiling, patting the tuna on the back.
Merry Christmas, son. Here's a tuna.
Yeah. I just caught this tuna. Merry Christmas.
But you know what? Who knows? These kids may be happier than any other kids you know their age.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because they don't know any different.
They don't know any different.
Yeah.
I mean, they're living on a sailboat.
Yeah.
I hope that they're in warm waters. They've got to be in warm waters. And hopefully, nothing happens to them on this sailboat for their year living abroad on the sea. But I don't know. I saw that story, and that just brought me back to that one fateful Christmas when my dad played that nasty joke.
Oh, that's a
What was the best Christmas gift you ever got?
I got to say that the best Christmas gift I ever got was one of those old electric football games.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Oh, I loved it. But unfortunately, there were only like 1 or 2 of the players that would actually go forward. The rest of them would just spin around.
Spin around and vibrate, yeah. That's crazy.
But that's probably my favorite of all time.
Chris?
I'd say my favorite is, I was probably 7 or 8, I think, and I got a Sears and Roebuck stereo system.
Oh.
And it was a double cassette deck with a turntable on top and a couple of speakers.
Very cool. Yeah.
And then they also gave me a microphone that I could plug into the microphone input on the stereo. I love that thing, and this is probably why I'm in radio today.
I was getting ready to say.
Yeah,
I used to record songs off of the radio, just top 40 radio on the cassette, and then I would record over the disc jockey, and I would be the disc jockey, just introing the songs and stuff.
Right.
I did that for hours.
Awesome.
I was an only child, so I didn't have anybody there to play with, so I entertained myself that way.
I think mine was the unicycle. And by the way,
That's right.
I got a unicycle, and yes, I learned to ride it, and I was seen all over my part of town riding a unicycle. He was the weird kid on the unicycle. But the question was, last time we talked about this, I think I said, I don't think there are any pictures of me on the unicycle, but I found one.
Yep.
I shared it with you, Chris.
I've seen it.
There is actually, I have one Polaroid picture of me. I think 2 actually. I found 2 I was going through a bunch of bins, reorganizing the garage one day, and I came across a bunch of old pictures, and there was one of me on that unicycle.
Yep.
awesome.
I'd still like to see video.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, how fast do you think you ever got on that thing, Brian?
Well, you know, it's not like a bicycle where you have
Right.
gears. It's like every time you pedal, it's one circle of the wheel. So you don't make great time, but if you get pretty good, I mean, you could probably do better than walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a little better than walking. But I used to take swim lessons in the summer in Odessa, and over to the park was quite a walk. I rode my unicycle over there and back every day. Left it chained to the fence is where I went in and learned how to
like
swim.
anyone's going to take a unicycle.
Yeah,
they wouldn't know how to ride it.
That's awesome,
They would take it, but they wouldn't get very far.
No.
53 past the hour. Hey, have you heard about this thing? Costco had them, a hit and miss, actually. Gold bars. They can't keep them in stock. And gold has had a breathtaking surge this year. It hasn't stopped the bullion from flying off the shelves, but it's a good performing commodity, doing well, much better than a lot of assets, especially if you've seen the Dow Jones Industrial over the last 9 days. Why is that? The surge has been driven by its appeal as a safe haven asset in time of geopolitical and economic uncertainty. And you know where you can get gold when Costco runs out? And that's about all the time. It's hard to find over there. You're from my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. They sell the same high-quality products as Costco and other national online retailers. They will not overcharge you, and as a bonus, you'll be supporting a locally owned business. Kyle and Hannah are true experts, and you can count on top-of-the-line personalized customer service. Nashville Gold and Coin, the best place to buy gold in Middle Tennessee. You'll be dealing with experts instead of some random store clerk with zero knowledge about precious metals. So make an appointment today with Nashville Gold and Coin. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Merger talks impacting Tennessee auto workers and a judge granting permission for testing of heart tissue and fluid samples from George Floyd. These stories and more at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
58 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. You know, we there were years where we talked about the war on Christmas, but it seems that more and more people are sort of getting past all that thing, you know, where everybody said season's greetings or happy holidays, you know, because, you know, well, you wanted to be generic, you know. Well, you know, I love it when people will say to you, Merry Christmas.
Yes,
you know,
too.
I mean, yeah. I just love that. And it seems like, you know, maybe the pendulum on that is swinging back a little bit, you know, that you know, it's not a horrible thing to say Merry Christmas to someone during the holidays and remember a little bit more about what the season is really all about, right? Well, Jill Biden apparently is still of those of the people who try to give the generic greeting. So she's at the White House. They're showing off all of the decorations. They're having people there. And she comes out, and the cameras are rolling, and she delivers a big old happy holiday. But one kid in the crowd was not having it.
Hello. How are you? Hi. Happy holidays. Hi. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas. Yes.
There you go.
There you go. That kid's got it right.
Yes.
It is. It's time for the news now with Ken Weaver at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Six o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. All of Middle Tennessee, north of I-40, under a flash flood watch with rain and possible storms moving in overnight. Can't rule out the possibility of severe weather. It is a marginal risk tonight for areas mainly west of 65 overnight, and then more parts of Middle Tennessee throughout the day tomorrow. We got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Honda and Nissan reportedly going to talk about merging. The Nikkei newspaper reporting today Honda and Nissan soon will sign a memorandum of understanding toward that goal. They're struggling to keep up in the EV market. A judge has granted permission for testing of heart tissue and fluid samples from George Floyd. The defense for the ex-Minneapolis cop convicted in his death contends not the officer's knee on his neck killed Floyd, but a heart condition aggravated by a rare tumor. Here's Chuck Sievertson.
Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis cop, is challenging his conviction on a federal civil rights charge stemming from Floyd's death in 2020. The federal judge is allowing the defense to examine Floyd's heart tissue and fluid samples to test a theory from an outside pathologist that Floyd died of a heart condition aggravated by a rare tumor, not, as prosecutors contend, from the white officer pressing his knee on the black man's neck for 9.5 minutes, despite Floyd's cries of, "I can't breathe."
A New York grand jury today indicted Luigi Mangione on first and second-degree murder charges in the killing of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione could also be on his way from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested, to New York to be arraigned as soon as Thursday.
The grand jury here in New York returned an indictment charging Luigi Mangione with first-degree murder in the death of Brian Thompson, reflecting a belief by the grand jury and by prosecutors that the killing was meant to evoke terrorism. There is a terrorism enhancement reflected in this charge, and District Attorney Alvin Bragg said it was meant to evoke terror, and he believes he can prove it once Mangione is returned here to New York and goes on trial.
Members of Congress received a classified briefing from national security officials today on those mysterious drone sightings. Some lawmakers say they learned nothing new. Might be the case, as you hear from Pentagon spokesman and Major General Patrick Ryder.
Is it possible that some of those drones could be up to malign activity? It's entirely possible, but the vast majority, that is not, the case.
And your air fryer could be spying on you. Other internet-connected appliances, too.
Of the hundreds of app-connected appliances on the market, the UK consumer advocacy group Which looked at the top-rated air fryers on Amazon. 3 wanted permission to record audio on the user's phone for no specified reason. The Xiaomi app linked to trackers from Facebook and Chinese tech giant Tencent. The Igostar air fryer wanted to know gender and date of birth, but it was optional. Both fryers sent people's personal data to servers in China. Regulators in America and Britain are seeking power to crack down.
I just tell mine to pipe down. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Sylvan Park, a crash 40 westbound before Whitebridge Pike and Briley Parkway. South Nashville, accident, left shoulder blocked, 440 eastbound before 24. In Madison, right 3 lanes blocked by a crash, 65 southbound before Briley Parkway, Ellington Parkway. And an accident blocking the shoulder, 24 westbound, right after Bell Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening, everyone. 7 past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. This is The Drive on the 17th day of December, just a few more days before The Drive is put in park. We're going to put it in park. We're going to put it in a nice little park. We're going to take it to the scrapyard and sell it for parts.
It's just wore out and worth nothing anymore.
We worked this sucker to death.
I think we ought to just put it in a museum.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's rode many a mile with folk.
Yes,
and as you try to go home each day, but between now and the 24th, we're going to try to drive drive you home and get you home safely, and then drive the liberals crazy. That's what The Drive was all about. But I will be with you now all the way till my last show. I'll be here tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then Tuesday. That's it. Then now Wednesday's Christmas, right? That's right.
Yep.
I got that right. Yeah. So then that's it. That'll be the last drive. Now, again, just so everybody knows, this was my decision. I told the people at this radio station 3 years ago when I signed my last contract that I was going to try to stay through the Trump, until Trump ran for re-election and see how that all worked out. I wanted to be here through this election cycle, and then I was going to retire. And so, they've known it's been a closely held secret internally here at Super Talk for 3 years. I mean, Chris, you knew.
Yes, I did.
Because we don't have any secrets, you and I. We're like joined at the hip. We I know all yours. Well, actually, I don't know many of your secrets. You don't share many secrets, but I have.
I'd tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
He's very close-lipped, tight-lipped. But you knew that about 3 years ago that this would come to a close at this time. So it's not a surprise to anybody here. But, I'm leaving on really good terms, and I'm not completely gone. I just want to stress that for people who think, well, I'll never hear you again. No, I'm going to be around. I'm like a bad penny. I keep showing up, and I'm going to be here. I'll be doing some fill-in work and doing some other things. In fact, we're having a conversation tomorrow morning about all that, and having a longer conversation about, how I might work for this radio station, which I care about so deeply. Really, what I care about is the audience. I love this audience. I've been in talk radio, well, a total of 12 years, and before I did a lot of TV, and I thought when I was at Fox News that the audience was something special because they were so loyal to what we did. And they were, but man, nothing like what we have in talk radio. And in fact, in Washington, D.C., we were popular with our audience, and our audience loved us. But I mean, there's something about this audience in Middle Tennessee that just, they consider us their family, and I consider you my family. And I have come to have such a passionate feeling about this audience. And so, I wanted you to know that, I'm leaving, but I'm not going to be completely gone. You'll still hear my voice now and then. And
when you least expect it, you'll pop up.
And you know what? I'm available for bar mitzvahs or birthday parties.
You'll bring your own PA system with you.
I'll bring my own PA system. Because I got one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to trade in that sleek race car that you hear every time we open up the drive for a Ram Sprint van.
There you go.
That has a bed and a bathroom in it.
That's all you need.
That's right. Bed in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
This I got a little what they call a Class B, ready for travel.
Yeah.
Maybe I might be taking it to the inauguration in January. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's possible. But it's a Class B camper. But what's the weirdest thing about it is it's got a bed, it's got a little kitchenette, and it's got solar cells on the top that charge a big lithium battery. But it's a Ram truck basically underneath it all, and I love it, and I'm going to be doing some traveling with it. But the weird thing about it is the shower. It has a shower in the very back.
Okay.
So you pull a big curtain around so that the water doesn't get into the rest of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And you pull the curtain around so it doesn't leak out the back door. And you sit on the porta potty and you have a little sprayer. So you spray yourself that's how you take a shower in the Sprint van.
You could kill two birds with one stone.
That's what I was thinking, man.
Yeah. Well, I'll be clean and I'll be empty.
Just need to figure out a way to work that toothbrush in there, and you'll be all set, man.
The trifecta.
It's too much.
Oh my God. I'll tell you what. One thing though, it's always been sort of this audience again. Getting back to this audience, driving down the road. I have only one I've ever had. I decided to get a vanity plate for my truck.
Yeah.
And it says URFARB, URFARB. And I don't know why people are so hinky about, when you take a picture of your car, everybody wants to block out the light. Why? I don't know. What are they going to do? Track me down?
Yeah.
They know where I live. I live in Watertown. Everybody knows that. So I mean, but I'll be driving down the highway, and somebody will come up behind me, and then you'll see them pull over, and they'll pull up right alongside.
Yeah.
Honk the horn, give you a big thumbs up,
Yeah.
and that's a listener.
Mm-hmm.
That's as my sister said, there's a ding dong dinger.
Yes, sir.
And you know what I should do on the last show? Let me reach over and grab it. I should give away the bell.
Oh, yeah.
To one lucky listener, get the official drive bell.
You have to find a way to autograph it. You know?
I could probably, well, I don't know, because it's silver. You can't use one of those silver pens. That wouldn't work.
Can you etch it in there?
Maybe I could do that. I'll go see if I got a Dremel tool that'll take care of
Just
that.
take a hammer to it and give it a whack, and that'll be your signature.
It's not a very
there.
bad. The whole thing about it is that initially I wanted to have the bell so that when I said when the audience somebody would call in, they say something I agree with, I go so like my way of going, hey, great, I agree with you.
Yeah,
you did well. So then on the morning show, one day out of the blue, I'm sitting there, and that music that we play, the music, by the way, Johnny Highland, if anybody wants to know, that's the guitar music. He's the guitarist that does that song. He's a great guitarist. And the music ends on 3 downbeats. Bump, 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 and it's out. And so it's got what we call a stinger. Stinger out, 3 downbeat, bump, bump, bump. And one day during the morning show, I remember when I did it, both of you looked up and laughed and thought it was hilarious. We hit that thing, and I just reached up and went,
yep,
right there 3 times in a row, 3 dings with the downbeat of the song. And so then it became a thing that I would do it every time.
Mm-hmm.
But then, COVID came along, and we ended up doing remote broadcasting. And this is a technical thing to explain, but I'm live, but I'm about, I don't know, 10 1,000ths of a second off of it takes that long for the signal to get from here to you to your radio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a slight, you wouldn't think just a little bit of delay. It's like it's such a microscopic amount you wouldn't think it'd matter at all. But because of that slight bit of delay that it takes for the station's audio to get to me, for me to react, and the station audio to get back and on the air, it takes a thousandth of a second, but you cannot hit the bell right on the downbeat. You cannot do it.
You want to try? You want to give it a try?
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, you were way off.
That was off, huh? Yeah. So we ended up then taking the bell. The bell is actually now recorded onto the end of the to the music. We just put it on there, right? Mm-hmm. And over time, I quit using the bell. And I ended up saying, when I agree with you, I go, yes, I agree. Or I'm sorry. No, I don't agree. Sorry, you didn't. I'm sorry, your answer is wrong. But the bell has still been here all this time.
Been listening.
It's a relic of an earlier time. I wonder if anybody would like to have the bell.
I bet they would.
Yeah, probably would, Brother Brian.
Yeah.
So I tell you what we're going to do. Maybe one day between now and the end of the 24th, we'll open up the phone lines, and people can tell me, if you want the bell, I'll send it to you. I'll sign it. And it can be yours as a remembrance of this program. And we'll ask them, to tell me why they should be the winner of the bell.
Why they're worthy of the bell.
Why are you worthy of the bell?
Yeah.
And you and I, all 3 of us will decide on who had the best answer.
That's a good idea.
I like that.
Yeah. You like that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's what we'll do.
Sounds good in case but if no one says they want it, then it.
Yeah. Or you say,
what
am I going to do with a dang bell? I don't need a dang bell. Or I could, because we don't have a budget for giveaways, I could give away my Oscar Mayer wiener whistle. That's also here, right here.
Complete with Brian Wilson's saliva still inside.
That's right. You can run the DNA and then recreate me.
Oh, I don't think we need 2 of you.
In another life, when the science advances, you can take the Wienermobile and say, give me a Brian Wilson out of that, would you?
Scary thought, man.
Yeah, it is. But by the way, there's a story out there about them recreating an extinct form of zebra. Have you heard this story?
No. Not. Sounds like Jurassic Park kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have a hard time finding it. I have it here somewhere. Apparently it was called a quagga. Yeah, here it is. I got it. You got it? Scientists, did they just revive an extinct animal or just breed a less stripy zebra? A nearly 4-decade quest to bring the quagga back. The quagga. I never heard of this before in my life, but apparently quagga was a form of zebra that went extinct in 1883. The last one died in a zoo in 1883. And so they have apparently it's like a zebra, but it's stripes only on the head and necks, and sometimes rarely on the backs. But the hindquarters did not have stripes. And so scientists since the 1980s have been trying to bring this animal back from extinction, sort of like Jurassic Park kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And while cloning creates an exact replica of the individual animal, rebreeding creates an entire population. So they apparently they've been taking and trying to come up with a quagga. It's spelled Quagga, but it's pronounced, the GG is pronounced as a C. And apparently it got its name because that's the sound it makes. I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, they're kind of interesting looking. The stripes just kind of disappear as they go back past the shoulders. Weird.
So the project, founded in 1987, acquired zebras with lighter, sparser, or brown stripes to mate with each other, which resulted in reduced striping on the offspring hind legs, and bellies. It's been a slog, says Reinhold Rau, a German taxidermist who immigrated to South Africa in the 1950s and was the driving force behind the Quagga project, who died in 2006. Many of the original scientists have retired. So now the question is, did they do it, or did they just breed the stripes out of the zebra?
Yeah. And does it really matter? Will anyone know the difference?
The project says about 10% of the 150 animals it owns would now blend easily into a 19th century herd of quagga.
Looks like a tiger fell in love with a donkey.
They do look kind of, the picture I'm seeing of one, and this is an actual photo apparently of one, it looks more stout than a modern zebra.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a donkey, kind of like you were saying, a little more hefty than a horse like zebra.
Opposites attracted even in the 1800s.
Wow. Who knew? I never knew there was such a thing as a quagga.
Never heard of it.
Quagga. Yeah. I hope I'm saying that right.
I like how there's a picture of a quagga with a bird sitting in a branch by it. Like it looks like it's in a museum. I wonder if they.
What's interesting is the guy who was doing all this was a taxidermist, so that may be entirely possible.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's all say it together because it's just so much fun to say. 1, 2, 3. Quagga. It's 21 past the hour. All right, I want you to make this a magical Christmas with help from the Genesis Diamonds, folks. You're going to love what's happening this month at Genesis. They got 5 years, 0% interest financing all across the board. So what you do is you go in there, you pick out any spectacular gift, divide the price by 60, and that is your monthly payment. Everything is affordable. And guys, Genesis has what women love, from simple diamond stud earrings to amazing one-of-a-kind designer bracelets. Their showcases are filled with exquisite diamond rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands. Can't miss gifts with craftsmanship and lasting value. All of Genesis exclusive designers are showcasing their latest creations so you can get her something truly unique and special. And Genesis non-commission experts will help you pick out that gift that's sure to bring tear to her eyes on Christmas morning. Relax. No pressure at Genesis. They will make it very easy. This year, get her the most romantic and most memorable gift for the season. Genesis Diamond, best value, best selection, best quality, and best overall experience. And not just diamonds. How about those pre-owned Rolexes, luxury pre-owned Rolexes in mint condition? 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Congress has released that stopgap spending bill. It is 1,547 pages long. We'll tell you about that and more coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
26 minutes past the hour. So, you guys started something because I started talking about the bell, and my Cabana wife has texted and said that she needs the bell so when I retire, she can ring it so I can serve her.
Yeah, it's going to be, Cabana boy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so, she's not going to retire for a little while, so she's going to keep working. And so I'm going to be a kept man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you keep thinking that.
Yeah, it's funny because, you think you're going to retire, but then, find out there's all these honeydew lists that are being constructed.
Yeah, you'll wish you were still working.
Yep, that's right. I haven't quit working. I just am not working for money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the way that goes. Bud Light no longer the best-selling draft beer at bars, new data suggests. New data suggests Bud Light, according to thehill.com, is no longer tops in America's tap rooms, at least when it comes to the most popular draft beers offered at bars across the U.S. Draftline Technologies, a company that provides software for beverage distributors, found in a recent report that Michelob Ultra, which like Bud Light is owned by Anheuser-Busch, recently overtook Bud Light in terms of the number of tap handles operating at U.S. venues with beer systems. The rise of Michelob Ultra as the leader by number of tap handles on draft reflects shifting consumer preferences. Michelob Ultra has been on a path to surpass Bud Light as the number one brand on draft for a number of years. The news is Michelob Ultra did it. There's a new number one. But if you're bypassing Bud Light because you're mad about, the whole thing that happened with Bud Light being woke and all, here's the thing you should know. The new winner is still owned by Anheuser-Busch. Same people. They own it. The decline, at least in part, has been credited to the backlash over Bud Light's 2023 collaboration with Dylan Mulvaney, a transgender activist and influencer. The collaboration caused calls for a boycott from critics of the brand's partnership with Mulvaney, but some of Mulvaney's fans, as well as members of the LGBTQ+ community, also became critical of Anheuser-Busch over their handling of the backlash. Can't win. It'll become the favorite beer of gay people. But no, they were not pleased with the way that they handled the backlash. So it's a lose-lose thing for them. For a company to hire a trans person and not publicly stand by them is worse, in my opinion, than not hiring a trans person at all, because it gives customers permission to be as transphobic and hateful as they want, said Mulvaney. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you what, Anheuser-Busch wishes they had never done that, I bet you. I bet you they have pretty strong feelings about that, because it has really, really, overall, about a year and a half ago, Bud Light lost its title of best-selling overall beer to Modelo Especial. In July of 2024, Michelob also surpassed Bud Light as the second best-selling beer, dropping Bud Light, which was once in first place, to third. The decline, of course, was all about that, being woke. I don't know. I have a friend who runs a grocery store, and he tells me that they can't move the stuff. That a lot of other beers are selling, but that one they just don't sell.
Well, people have made the change, and now they're happy with whatever they're drinking, so they're not going to go back, I guess.
And here's the thing. It's hard to get people to change their habits.
Absolutely. Yeah.
On things, that products that they like, you have to really work hard once you get a market, a place in the marketplace.
I like that Modelo commercial, man. It's got a Hispanic fella in a helicopter and a cowboy hat. Looks down at you, and if you don't have a six-pack of Modelo, he drops one off.
Yeah.
I'm
Flag me that job.
Maybe that's what all those drones are.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Could be, man.
It could
Bring
be.
them over here.
Well, now, can we imagine how great America would be if the drones would deliver beer to your doorstep?
Oh, it's coming, boys.
That
and hot chicken.
First pizza. 30 minutes now past the hour.
6:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, that is. Everybody along and north of I-40 under a flash flood watch for rain and possible severe storms starting overnight. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Congress has released that short-term funding bill to avoid a holiday shutdown. The measure would keep the government funded until March 14th, which Tennessee U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty says is better than letting Democrats in White House have a shot at it.
Well, that's one aspect that I think our listeners should be pleased with, and that's the fact that this continues only until March, but it does continue until March. That gives the Trump administration the chance to come in and figure out and negotiate the balance of the year as opposed to leaving it to Chuck Schumer and the Biden administration.
It's a 1,547-page bill that includes $100 billion for Hurricane Helene and Milton relief and allows federal agencies to coordinate and counter threats from drones, given all the public concern about recent sightings. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks lost value Tuesday, just a day before the Fed board announces its interest rate decision, with analysts predicting a 0.25 percentage point cut. The Dow lost 268 points, the Nasdaq falling 65, and the broader S&P was down 23 points. Japan's Nikkei Asia is reporting a possible Honda-Nissan merger. A Nissan executive told the Financial Times last month that the Japanese car makers may only have 12 to 14 months to turn things around. Nissan is facing increased competition in China, plus expensive electric vehicle development costs. The Energy Secretary says increasing liquefied natural gas exports run against U.S. climate goals and could increase energy costs. Jennifer Granholm cautions the incoming Trump administration about building new liquefied natural gas export terminals.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, South Nashville, you got a crash, left shoulder blocked, I-40 eastbound right before I-24. In Madison, a crash blocking the right shoulder, 65 southbound right before exit 90A. And then Briley Parkway westbound at Gallatin Pike. Sylvan Park, 40 westbound right before White Bridge and Briley Parkway. And in Rutherford County, we got a crash blocking the right lane, 24 westbound in Smyrna. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
At 38 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. Just a few more minutes before we hand it over to Mark Levin, and he carries on through the rest of the evening. The great one. I got a few more stories to try to share with you. There was a woman who was given a commuted sentence by Joe Biden the other day. Her name is Rita Crundwell, and she's 71 years old. And the current president of the United States has commuted her sentence, and she will go free. And the town where she lives is apoplectically upset about this. So President Biden added the woman behind the largest municipal embezzlement scandal in U.S. history to his list of clemency controversies, outraging a small Illinois community in the process. The former Dixon, Illinois comptroller, Rita Crundwell, age 71, who stole nearly $54 million from the town over 22 years and pled guilty to the crime in 2012, had her sentence commuted as part of the broader commutation last Thursday, making her one of 1,500, the most ever granted by a president in a single day. Local officials, some state lawmakers, are not happy about seeing her walk away from prison. Rita's crime absolutely shocks the conscience. At her sentencing on February 14th, 2013, the judge said that a significant prison sentence was essential to establish and reestablish public trust and confidence. So what we have seen here over the last week is just unbelievable and really a complete betrayal by the federal criminal justice system, said Dixon City Manager Danny Langloss, talking to Fox News. Langloss was a police chief at the time of Crundwell's arrest. Went on to say the rural Illinois community is shocked, outraged, and in absolute disbelief over the news, calling her commutation a complete disservice to all of the victims of her crime and to the sanctity and trust of the criminal justice system. But Biden's blanket move also commuted the prison sentence for a corrupt judge involved in the Cash for Kids scheme. This is unbelievable, really. Who imposed sentences on juveniles in exchange for millions of dollars in paybacks. In other words, these kids would end up getting sent to a youth privately run and privately operated for-profit prison for young people. And they might, it could be spread like, well, they got into fighting class. We're going to send you to a for-youth prison. And then the prison would give a kickback to the judge. That's outrageous. It's lazy governance. It's really abuse of authority and power, said Langloss on Tuesday. So all kinds of stuff is happening. And honestly, look, if you got somebody who did a drug crime, and he's been serving time, seems to be rehabilitated. And you want to take a chance on putting him back in, the community. I don't have too much of a problem with that, perhaps. But you know what? It shows once again that Democrats have no regard for the jury system. They have no regard for, the system of justice and the jury's verdict. No regard for a community that was built out of $54 million. That's a lot of money. She's 71, sure, but I don't think that matters. I mean, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. And she did it for 22 long years before she got caught. And it seems like to me, who signed off on this? Biden signed off on it ultimately, but who brought that case and thought it was a good idea? What happened that this one got special attention out of all the cases there, perhaps clemency was asked for? Look, I think there are, when they're, largely victimless crimes, and they're doing time but they have been rehabilitated and they're doing well in the community. That's one thing. But this woman stole from the public trust for 22 years to the tune of $54 million. Unbelievable. I don't know what's going to happen to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It sounds like things are crumbling around him. And I got to be honest with you, I have a hard enough time trying to figure out how the American system of government works that I don't consider myself to have any knowledge at all about how the Canadian system works. But it sounds like his ruling Liberal Party is about to fall apart. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is reflecting on complaints by legislators from the ruling Liberal Party who were unhappy that Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland quit. A close ally said on Tuesday. Separately, one Liberal parliamentarian said Trudeau was delusional if he thought he could fight the next election, which is due by October 20th next year. Polls show the Liberals would be crushed by the official opposition, the Conservatives. Freeland resigned on Monday amid a policy clash and released a letter savaging Trudeau's leadership, prompting one of the worst crises since he became prime minister in 2015. Hours later, Trudeau held a special meeting with his parliamentary caucus, which already is unhappy over the party's poor performance in the polls. He did say to caucus that he had heard very clearly and listened very carefully about their concerns. I was in Canada this summer. For the very first time, I took a trip into Canada, went to Calgary for the Calgary Stampede. It was a great trip. Really enjoyed it. The people were so nice. But I detected, there, you would see signs everywhere. Trudeau has got to go. They were everywhere. There was a very powerful opposition to Trudeau and his leadership. And maybe, what happens is in American politics, the pendulum swings back and forth. In the last election, it definitely swung toward the conservative side. And, who knows, after swinging for a while to the liberal side. And these things seem to happen in cycles around the world, and maybe, the next cycle for Canada is to have conservative leadership once again. So we'll see what happens. But sounds like things are falling apart for Justin Trudeau in Canada. Teen drug use hasn't rebounded from its drop during the early years of COVID-19, according to results from a large annual national survey released Tuesday. About 2/3 of 12th graders this year said they had not used alcohol, marijuana, cigarettes, or e-cigarettes in the previous 30 days. That's the largest proportion abstaining since the annual survey started measuring abstinence in 2017. Among 10th graders, this is good news. 80% said they had not used any of those substances recently. Another record. Among 8th graders, 90% said they didn't use any of them. The same as was reported in the previous survey. This is not good. The only significant increase occurred in nicotine pouches, About 6% of 12th graders said they had used them in the previous year, up from about 3% in 2023. Whether that has the making of a new public health problem is unclear. The University of Michigan's Richard Meitz, who leads the survey, said, it's hard to know if we're seeing the start of something or not. I'm happy to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that. The federal-funded Monitoring the Future survey has been operating since 1975. This year's findings are based on responses from about 24,000 students in grades 8, 10, and 12 in schools across the country. The survey is one of the best, if not the best, source of national data for substance abuse by teens, said Noah Kresge, a Columbia University researcher who studied teen drug use. Now, it really dropped early in the pandemic. Students across the country were told not to go to school and to avoid parties or other gatherings. And I think because they were at home under the watchful eye of mama and dad there for a lot more time, I think the experimentation went down. Experimentation tends to occur with friends spurred by peer pressure, the experts say, and they weren't going to parties, and they weren't going to school, and they were under the watchful eye of mom and dad a lot more than they had been. And so it dropped, but you would expect when things return to normal that they might go back to doing the things they'd done before, and apparently that's not happening. So there's that. The pandemic stopped the cycle of new kids coming in and being recruited to drug use. Mental health may also be a factor. There were increased reports of depression and anxiety in kids after the pandemic began. Depression is also often associated with substance use, but some people with depression and anxiety are very wary of messing with drugs, said Dr. Duncan Clark. Well, one way or the other, good news, kiddos, keep it up. Good stuff. And I don't know, Chris, what to think about this. On one hand, I'm not particularly pleased with how the judicial system has handled the case of Morgan Wallen. How do you feel about it? I mean, you know, what he did was incredibly dangerous. Throwing a chair off the top of rooftop at Chiefs down on Lower Broad. And I drove by that last night. I was with some friends. We went to dinner, and they had never been to Lower Broad, so I drove them through on the way back to the house. And I said, there's where, and I looked at that building. That's a tall building.
Yes, it is. 3-story, I think.
Well, it looked bigger than that to me. I think it may have been taller. I don't know, but it's a big, tall building. And I looked. That is the building he threw the chair off of. So I wasn't crazy about the fact that they downgraded it to a misdemeanor. Misdemeanor reckless endangerment instead of a felony, where there were 3 police officers standing within 10 feet of where that chair fell. You know, look, a metal chair like that weighs what? 25 pounds, maybe?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly something like 20 pounds, maybe. Falling at terminal velocity off of which is fast. And it's, gravity brings you down so fast, but it reaches a terminal velocity. It can not go any faster than a certain speed. But 3 stories is enough to reach terminal velocity. Could have been devastating. Could have been deadly.
Absolutely.
Could have killed someone. Mm-hmm. And, we laugh it off and, Morgan Wallen, and we're going to, we'll downgrade it to a misdemeanor. Look, I mean, I think the young man has a problem with alcohol. It seems pretty clear. And I thought after the first incident where alcohol was involved that he would get some help, and he seemed to be doing the right things. And then this happens. And I know if you have a problem with alcohol, it's one of those things that's really hard to battle. But it was pretty serious. Well, anyway, long story short is now comes this matter before the council tonight, the Nashville council, about whether to allow him to erect a sign at his bar. It came up once before, and they did not like it. They said, look, he's a bad ambassador for the city of Nashville, and, the thing had just happened, and so they disapproved the hanging of the sign outside the downtown bar. But it's up again tonight. The newly proposed resolution will authorize Wallen's venue, This Bar and Tennessee Kitchen, located at 107 4th Avenue North, to construct and install an aerial encroachment. Well, that's what he did with the chair. It was an aerial encroachment, wasn't it? Back in May, some council members said he was a bad ambassador, and they disapproved the hanging of the sign. So now he's out there trying to do this yet again. And the question is, will they go for it? I don't know. The council's been sort of stubborn about some things. Some things I think they shouldn't be stubborn about, but I wonder if they'll be stubborn about this or whether all is forgiven. All is forgiven. I don't know. We'll see. 52 minutes past the hour.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 57 minutes now past the hour. You remember our astronauts that are stuck on the International Space Station? And one of them is from, from the Nashville area, from Mount Juliet. These poor people, they went up on the Starliner, not the Starliner, the Boeing, it was the Boeing Starliner.
Starliner, yeah.
Yeah, and they got up there, and somehow the thrusters on the Starliner malfunctioned. They were afraid to send them back on the Starliner. So Elon sent up a capsule to get them, essentially. And they had to come back. Boeing had to bring back their astronauts on a SpaceX spacecraft. So anyway, they've been stuck there, and they're not going to get to, it was June, and it was supposed to be like a 2-week mission. And they're still stuck there. The two NASA astronauts who've been stuck on the International Space Station since their Boeing spacecraft ran into problems in June will have to remain there even longer, NASA announced today. NASA pushed back the next astronaut's crew launch to the ISS from February to no later than March to allow more time to complete processing on a new SpaceX spacecraft that will be used for the mission. 4 crew members aboard the station must wait for the arrival of the next crew before they can depart on a separate SpaceX Dragon capsule. They include NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore, he's our local guy, who launched on the challenge-plagued flight first test of Boeing Starliner vehicle. They originally intended to spend about a week or two at the space station. Well, it wound up in having lived and worked in orbit for more than 9 months, including the added time for the latest delay.
Wow.
9 months. And the woman is not doing so well. She's losing weight. I mean, they were very concerned about her because she was losing so much weight. She was getting very, very thin. And apparently when you're in space, you really have to eat a lot. I didn't know that, but apparently you have to high caloric intake. And she just wasn't able to eat enough to keep the weight on, and she was getting
not good,
woefully thin. But hang on, Butch. Just a few more months. Golly. It is 59 minutes past the hour. Thank you much for listening to The Drive on Super Talk 99.7. I'll be back here tomorrow, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday before we park the car on the drive. Have a good night.